What do you care? You know, Bitcoin moves 3 to 30% on a fairly regular basis, right? You'll be able to have another day to buy it in if they rip your head off at 250. You made 250. Let's say you sell a call option at 150 grand. You made 10 grand a month selling that call option. Now, I don't know if it's going to trade for that, but the more volatility we have, um, so I just think there's a million ways for you to achieve this. The hardest part is to get a core position of Bitcoin, right, Simon? That's the core deal, to get a core position of Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I guess I'm in a different position to you guys because I can move very tax efficiently, but I think for you guys, every time you move, there's like real tax consequences unless you're doing it through ETFs in your IRA or something.
Yeah, yeah, you're definitely. Thank you, and thank you for saying that, Simon, because your tax position is massively different than Mike's. So I think we got the Hoff 21, and then we got Dr. Jan in the room. Dr. Jan, good to have you.
It's
Hey,
nice
Gary.
here. Oh, sorry. It's midnight. It's almost midnight in the UK. Gary, I just want to know how your date went.
Well, you'll have to ask her. See,
Oh,
I'm a
what?
big believer that you ask the public about how they were serviced. You don't ask the provider. That's what's made me a good businessman.
All right. I'm going to go to sleep, but that's the only reason I joined to find out. That's
Well,
a cop out.
let me just say it this way, okay? I'll probably have another one.
Okay, good.
How's
All right.
that? Thank you for asking. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Gary,
okay.
is she listening
Good
to the
night.
space? Is she an anonymous or is she in the audience?
No,
No,
she was
I'm
in
in
it.
the audience, but it's late here in
I
London.
was talking about the date.
Oh,
And Gary, like the new way of having a date, yeah, you invite them to your ex space afterwards.
oh,
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah. I invite them to my space. Yeah, my virtual space. Exactly.
uh,
Weird. Thanks, Jan. Appreciate it.
all right. Take care, everyone.
Hey, Gary. It's the Hoff again. I just wanted to comment on the mining situation that you brought up.
Please, man.
So back when I started mining, 2018, it was a lot more affordable to mine. It was a lot more efficient. The rewards were a lot higher. Until recently, with everything else going on, inflation, electricity prices, now it's become extremely inefficient and not profitable. So for a private miner like myself, if you're asking me if I would suggest people start mining, the answer is absolutely not. So everything I do right now, every company I buy, every company I invest in is to generate more cash flow for me to buy more Bitcoin. That is my sole focus. Like I said, I've never sold anything from everything that I've mined or purchased. So mining today, extremely inefficient and extremely expensive for the individual to do. But to your point about selling covered calls, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the road you're going to see a Bitcoin ETF that does that for the general retail population.
Yeah, so to me, that's the one that makes sense because the problem Bitcoin doesn't solve is you want to get yourself in a position where you can kick off an income to buy more Bitcoin, and that's a problem everyone has to solve at some stage. Otherwise, they're going to be selling Bitcoin and figuring out the position you want to be in is that you've got asset that's generating income, and then the income generates you Bitcoin, and then you're not in you're trying to get to a position where you're not figuring out whether to sell.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's where everyone wants to be. That's where I don't think people focus enough energy. Now, obviously, your first job is just to get your core Bitcoin position. So this obviously goes in stages. So like your first job is just to try and get enough Bitcoin, but then once you got hit a certain Bitcoin goal, you're like, right, how am I going to not sell the Bitcoin? And the only way to not sell the Bitcoin is to have something that's giving you the income. And then if that income's covering your cost, then you need to be in a position. Then you can be just accumulating Bitcoin, and then you're in the holy land. That's where everyone should be trying to get to, which is
Exactly. Right.
you have more Bitcoin every month because you got a cash flow. And initially, obviously, everyone needs to use their cash flow of working or their business. So you've got to leverage your assets or whatever you've got. But that's where everyone needs to be thinking from my perspective.
I agree 100% with you, Simon.
And that's where, Gary, it probably gets quite interesting with Grant and what you guys are doing, is that intersection between real estate and Bitcoin and the financial products that come along from that. And that's where things get really, really interesting. There's going to be a whole industry that emerges to think of, Bitcoin financial products based upon you having a core position. That's the whole micro strategy thing. But when someone really gets that right, of trusted counterparties, and I'm not saying this is, that can kick off a cash flow and then it ends up in Bitcoin. That's where someone's going to create something really special.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had lunch with Sharon, the lady you introduced me to, and we were going through it and she said, "Hey, there's people doing that on the real estate side." I said, "Yeah, that the problem is they're not doing it like if we do this as a collective, like what we need, you would never call my brother, for instance, and go, 'Hey, I need to buy 10,000 Bitcoin.' Do it in the do it in the closed market. He doesn't know anybody. But if I'm wanting to deploy $1 billion worth of capital into real estate that's producing cash flow that I can then take and buy Bitcoin with, like synthetic mining, um, and you're buying it at 20 to 30 cents on a value, I go back to my core position. You don't use Bitcoin to buy potato chips, right? And if you do, you buy the potato chips 20 to 50 cents cheaper than you can with fiat, if and only if I can buy real estate that produces cash flow at, you know, 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. I mean, that is really turbocharging my Bitcoin now, right? Like I don't have a transparent I have an opaque portfolio in real estate. It doesn't have the same kind of liquidity. Also has a very different duration. It generates income. I can leverage the shit out of it. I mean, $1 billion would allow us to buy $4 to $5 billion worth of property, dude. Knocking $30 million a year in interest in distributions that are pretty tax efficient. But it has to be done as a club, right? And I love the idea of a whole fiat turned into Bitcoin real estate play, a big old fund. But it would require the whales, right, to show up and they want to diversify their position. To me, this is a cool diversity play, Simon, because it plays the inflation game, right? Real estate will continue to inflate in value, but it'll also continue to generate income streams, allowing you a synthetic leverage 3 to 1, 4 to 1 on Bitcoin without having the exposure being liquidated because it's in real estate and it's not transparent. I think it's a beautiful play. Um, Grant's quiet. He's probably buying his 2,500 Bitcoin. He asked me the other day, "Hey, Simon, how much do you think he would move the market if he wanted to buy 2,500 Bitcoin, uh, say in 10 days?" I think you could do it in 10 hours personally without moving the market. But what do you
Now,
think?
yeah, my question was in one day. How would
Yeah, I told him I think 50 billion trades. He's talking about $150 million purchase. I think he could get cleared out in 10 hours without moving a price 2 or 3%. What
Yeah,
do
I
you
don't
think?
I don't think that's a market mover, but I don't spend all days looking at liquidity books and stuff like that. I think Joe's really good at answering all these questions. Um, yeah, I don't know what level of buying moves the market now.
If 50 billion is trading, then 150 is, I mean, you'd have to just be an idiot. Uh, you can do it poorly, but there's no need for that. So I don't know, Grant, if you've started or if that was a hypothetical question, but
no, I didn't start. It was hypothetical. And I'm looking at this Mike Saylor quote today that you guys have up in the nest. I mean, 450 Bitcoin a day, that's $24 million. So he's talking to what? 100 people on the planet with that post.
Yeah, dude.
So why is he saying that?
Probably for the same reason you say that rent's going to be double in 3 years.
Yeah, so he's talking his book up.
Everybody talks their book, bro.
Oh, hey, I ain't hating. I ain't shit.
No, he's
I
been like he is talking his book, okay, but he has
Yeah,
been one of the best corporate educators
I
of
agree.
Bitcoin, and so like to me, like we need him to continue this because what he's really like, he's had meetings with Michael Dell. See, to your point, bro, one guy, he's only talking to 100 people. That's all we need, Grant. One of those 100. Just look what MicroStrategy's done. Dell is 10x him, dude. He is 10 times larger than Saylor. Imagine if just one of these big players go, shit, I'm having a hard time competing, man. I need to do something revolutionary. And it worked for this other guy. So, yes, he is promoting Bitcoin and he should continue to promote Bitcoin. And he continues to educate the world of how shitty fiat is. That fiat literally drives all markets to monopolies, highly inefficient, highly controlled, a few small players, not a bunch of players, but a few small players. Because the
Why? Hey,
fiat,
yeah.
yeah.
Why all that movement this weekend?
July 4th started Wednesday. Markets are closed Thursday, Friday. Soft volume.
But
Futures markets closed.
The Bitcoin market's not closed on the weekends.
Yeah, but all the legacy markets closed. All of Wall Street.
Oh, so you're saying money can only go one place?
Well, during now that we have ETFs and Wall Street's playing, I mean, they're going to go in during the hours of 9:30 and 4, right? And then you're left with a bunch of degens trading Saturdays. So it was a much thinner market. We have some news, but you've had a $5,000 move in a weekend. That's Bitcoin, bro. What did your real estate move over the weekend? See,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's a
It
it's
never
a great
moves.
question.
It could sit there for 2 years and not move. What are you
Yeah,
talking
no,
about?
it's yeah, well, because there's no charts. It's not a transparent market. That's my point about the value of putting Bitcoin and real
Well,
estate
no,
together.
Gary, but it's not fair to say it's not transparent. It's very, very transparent.
Uh,
Every trade is completely documented. Everybody knows what everybody paid. It's just not liquid. It can't move.
yeah, yeah, it's not liquid and it's not transparent in the moment, in real time. But I do agree it's reported. I do agree. All right, what else we got there, Sam? Have we gone off the rails, Sam?
Well, I've enjoyed the conversation because I've wanted to be like, hey guys, by the way, all this real estate talk, we did a video on this. And this is when I would show everyone the awesome YouTube video we just filmed that'll probably be going up here soon on Bitcoin and real estate. But I enjoy that conversation thoroughly. But no, I don't think we've gone too much off the rails unless you guys want to return to some of the other stuff that we've talked about previously. But I don't think we want to keep talking about the hurricane or Bitcoin dumping or Germany unless you guys do. I'm happy to go down that train again for all our newcomers. How many people do we have in the space currently? We have, why won't my number won't show? 561. That's pretty good. But then how many retweets do we have? Only 45 retweets. Guys, there's almost 600 people in the space. Go ahead and retweet the space. And if you're not following the speakers up here already, make sure you are. That's the whole goal is we want to educate you guys and we want to educate the rest of X on what we're talking about. Gary, I don't know. Is there anything that's on your mind that you think we should pivot to?
Let me add as well. But this is why. Look, I know. Look, I'm a Bitcoin maxi, and the industry is very tribal. But this is why I want ETH to continue succeeding. Because if ETH just follows Bitcoin and proof of stake just kicks off income, and then you can convert that into Bitcoin. And as long as those two are like just a higher risk play and they correlate, I got no problem using ETH like to generate more Bitcoin. And that's why like I think it's I don't want to go further down the risk curve because like Solana is just too decentralized, and then you're in the realm of like where you're dealing with humans, and that's why I don't like Bitcoin miners, because you're just essentially putting humans and greed and things that can go wrong in between you and your Bitcoin. But this is why I think having an Ethereum ETF and it's not fulfilling any of the problems that Bitcoin solves, but just being able to have a side by side proof of stake network that you can use and abuse and leverage to get more Bitcoin. I hope that continues and succeeds.
Yeah, I love that attitude of, hey, we should support other players. Like, we shouldn't spank everybody, right? We need more activity, not less. Validates the whole space and it gives us tons more options. Totally agree with you.
But that's a controversial opinion from a Bitcoin guy. But that's just the way I'm using it, and I don't think it's too risky. Like, it's higher risk, but I don't think it's too risky.
Yeah, it's a tad more risky than my vision of a $1 billion uh, real estate fund that's funded by long term holders of Bitcoin for the core reason, hey, I don't want to give up my Bitcoin. That to me is
And
cool.
Gary, that brings me to that question, right? So we have these long-term holders. Okay, I would be one of those guys that it'll go to zero before I sell any of this stuff. Um, I mean, that's just kind of the way I've thought about it. I don't. I'm not going to trade it. I'm not going to put calls on it. Uh, I'm not looking for cash flow from it, even though I'm sure some people will be trying to figure that out. How does that affect? Uh, and it might be just too simplistic of a question, but how does that affect that it's not being traded? Makes it, I guess, more
You mean
scarce.
the
Yeah, it
real
takes
estate?
it
You
takes
mean
it
the
off
real
the
estate?
market, Grant. We
No, the
used to have a
Bitcoin.
word for it. We call them the buyers of last resort. So where you had the lender of last resort and the central bank, you had the core people like myself that will never um, sell Bitcoin, and they're always buying in as long as they got a cash flow, and you're just taking Bitcoin off the market. So you got, and that's where you can read the Bitcoin blockchain, and people do like really amazing analysis now of just looking at the blockchain, the coins that never move, and you can just do a level of analysis from like the quants that can read chains, just to really understand the market on a scale you can't. So in any one moment, you kind of know how many Bitcoins are on exchanges versus how many are held in wallets, where you know you can still see the Satoshi wallet, so you can see that those coins have never moved and they were the first coins mined. You can see all that on chain, and people can perform like the level of quantitative analysis that the geeks that read on chain can do is pretty remarkable. And you can see how many coins are just never going to move, and then when some of them move, well, what does that actually mean? That's a shift, and people create some amazing tools for people that are really geeky into figuring out what all that information means.
So there's not a price that you would ever sell at.
No, because let me answer that question honestly. No, I don't think there is. Um, I've already positioned myself, so I've got I've got
Grant,
everything that I need. Yeah.
Grant, the Rockefellers, when they started buying big chunks of Manhattan, I don't think he ever considered, hey, yeah, he absolutely considered, hey, I'm not selling this. This is it,
Yeah,
dude. This
yeah,
is a magnet, right? I
yeah.
think
I
that's
agree.
so. I happen to believe that we're still in that time period. This is going to be an opportunity. It's not going to be as cheap as Simon whatsoever, but there are certain players that are in a position where their core asset is so significantly improved that they've been able to weather tons of problems, mistakes, volatility, losses, you know, that they've gone through so much shit that, that really like, okay, I'm not selling this stuff ever. I'm going to
Yeah,
lean against it. I'm going to get smart.
something has to fundamentally break, and I think by at this stage we've seen everything that could break, um, and there's not much left that can break. There's only like the real conspiratorial theories at the edge of, oh, the NSA has a backdoor key, and these are all just wild and so extreme.
Friend, I wanted
Or
to say while I have the stage here, I've got a great place out here at 98277 area code. Just look around, and it's surrounding area 98239.
are you
Uh,
trying to push some real estate? What's that?
Go ahead, Simon. I don't know what that was. Hey, you guys can't just come in here and, bounce in and start gibberish.
Man,
Go ahead, buddy.
I
Sorry.
tell you, whoever that was, man, you like, there is better ways of hustling, man. Just jumping up on a space and whatever that was, man. Times are hard, I guess. Um, but yeah, I mean, something has to fundamentally break, and there is less and less things that I can see breaking. I don't believe that every government in the world can coordinate in order to ban it on a global scale. I believe that if a quantum computer breaks the cryptography, then we're all fucked anyway. And Bitcoin probably would be the one thing that could, adjust the mech. I mean, it would be so disruptive, but I even see a set of scenarios where Bitcoin recovers from that. But everything's fucked at that stage, like everything. Um, so what's left? I don't know what's left. We've seen the China ban. We know what we probably know what an America ban looks like. Gold got through that. I think it'll be a massive opportunity for everyone outside America to say the empire's dead if they did that, and everyone would say we're the currency of we support the currency of freedom. America's a communist state. The narrative would just be so crazy for America to ever want to do that. What else is left? There's war. So imagine a war scenario. All of the stocks crash. All of the stock markets are closed. What are you going to want to transact in? What is the thing that will work? What if you have like a crazy event where you can no longer get AI chips and you can't get chips for mining? Well, we've got more than enough security. The difficulty rate adjustment will just adjust. CBDCs, they're not competition. CBDCs take out the banks. They don't take out Bitcoin. They drive you to Bitcoin. Um, like just give the what are the worst case scenarios of how this fails systemically long term, and all of the blips just create those buying opportunities where you've got mass fear. Um, maybe yeah. I mean, I challenge anyone to figure out what is the systemic event that makes Bitcoin fail. We've seen them all, and people have been speculating for 13 years. And every time they come up with one, it happens, and it just adjusts and survives.
Over and over and over. I don't know that I know an industry that's been attacked this much and gone through this much in less than 15 years, and had the worst marketing in the history of mankind with no central management, dude. Man, it's a 1.2 trillion. How you can't see this when you look at it outside the frame of just, it doesn't even need to be a currency. Just one or two attributes makes it worth $1.2 trillion, and um, literally no central management. Now, I think that's changing a bit as far as the messaging, but only last. Well, you've seen it all, dude. Oh my gosh. Anyway, um, I mean, we should have gone to after the FTX thing. I went to New York, hung out in Wall Street for a few days, and the overwhelming comment from Wall Street players that were on the edge of Bitcoin or in Bitcoin, but still in the TradFi world, they were all like, "Whoa, Bitcoin should have gone to $60 or 600 or 6,000, and it didn't. Over and over, man. The smart money was like, "Whoa, that should have this last thing should have wiped Bitcoin off the map," and it did not. So clearly, Simon, I think you'll agree with me. 20-ish thousand dollars of this price, I'm starting to think that we were kind of at the. If I'm a miner, I look at last year and go, okay, I was about 35 to maybe 40, 32, something like that. Bitcoin doubling under the halving rules, supply and demand. That should be what, about 70? Um, I mean, I think everyone's talking about it tripling from today, but they don't appreciate that. Hey, my sister called me up. Diane called me Saturday, said, Gary, Bitcoin's really getting crushed here. Are you okay? And, my answer was, in August, this was $16,000, right? I mean, everyone's forgotten that less than a year ago, this thing was, on the floor. So some part of this value has already shown up for the ETF for certain. I don't know where it runs from here, and I don't really care, but this may be establishing some kind of base, because I do think we're going into a more professional phase of Bitcoin's history. We're going to have better marketing, better rules, and better options, and the toilet bowl has been pretty clean. Um, the big failure here is the regulators have really shown how ignorant they are, and what a great lack of capacity they have for being flexible and thinking forward. That and
Actually, as
that to
I'm
me,
thinking about it, the
that to
one,
me is an opportunity. Okay, if our government is having a hard time shaping this, it gives us the opportunity to shape it ourselves. This is what I said when I first came in, that if you guys don't regulate yourselves, you're going to get regulated. Well, we're regulated now, but we can really transform, Simon. Like, dude, if you were here for a month, I could keep you busy in Washington. Like, just, you know, and anyone can speak to these people. That like having global voices is very important here for America to understand. This is not even in our bailiwick to change. Sorry, I interrupted you.
yeah, I was just thinking. I guess the one thing is when one day Bitcoin hits a stage where it's kind of like gold, and it's just a digital store of value, and most of the upside has like completely been achieved. Like that's the worst case scenario I can think of. But even then, it just gets more and more scarce because I you know we, people will keep losing these things, and people will, like, as ruthless as that sounds, people will just keep passing away and not pass on their keys. People will keep losing them, and they're only going to get rarer and rarer and rarer. Like that's not going to change.
I'm surprised at how few people ever speak about Bitcoin as rare art or rare gem, and where they're finding less and less of them. It always surprises me, because I think that definition, what you just said, that's not money, right? Well, it may be money, it may be value, but that's truly like collecting art. And I actually like to think about it that way, or one of three Bibles that can't be replicated, or 21 million Bibles, I guess in this case.
Yeah, and then you add to that, Gary, that okay, you're collecting your art, and then you got the Mona Lisa, and one day you decide that you just want to chip off a tiny little bit of it on the corner and just send it to anyone in the world that wants it. So it's got a payment system attached to it, like it
Without degrading the underlying Mona Lisa.
exactly.
Yeah,
So you can literally, like, you've got this store of value, this rarer and rarer thing.
it's an ATM, man. The Mona Lisa
Yeah,
ATM.
with the ability to just send whatever value you want anywhere. It's truly a unique position to be in. And then people are thinking that in terms of how can I make a quick buck here and there. How can I use that to make a sell it if it doubles? People are missing. Now I get it. The reason people are thinking like that is when you're in that position, and that's where you got to understand Bitcoin. When you're in that position where you're trying to manage paying your rent and all that stuff, that's a different game. Um, that's a game where you have to sell Bitcoin not because you want to, but because you have to, or because the short-term volatility meant that you've been trading in between. But that the problem is that those coins are always going to converge to the person that doesn't need to do that, and that's why you've got to get yourself in a position where you don't need to do that, because they're just going to end up in the person that doesn't need to do that.
Always. Absolutely always. Hey, Grant, if you're still here, if you're looking at hunting for value, do you preload a fund or do you post load the fund after you locate a deal? Because, some of this comes down to, Simon, if you're going to start diversifying, like Mike was asking about, without selling, you got to do a lot of planning, right? I mean, especially if you're going to play this poly strategy of real estate, use Bitcoin as ultimate liquidity collateral, and therefore you go in, okay, this is a predatory fund. It's only looking for class XYZ class real estate under these conditions, and we want this big of a discount, right? And the discount to the market to be able to close, but also discount to the market to be able to close 2 minutes before a covenant breach on a major contract where the bank will be left with nothing else to do default. I think there's got to be a ton of deals out there that they know Friday evening it's going to go into default. Monday morning they lose $100 million. Man, holding Bitcoin, being able to transact at 559. Tell me that does not bring. See, to me, that's where this is my potato chip bitch. People go, why you go so irritated about the potato chips? Like, because you got the same price, dude. You got the same price for your potato chips, and you could have just used fiat. Like, you accomplished nothing. In fact, I think you don't even understand what the fuck you're doing. So it's a little frustrating, but this would be, the big issue is going to be being able to create something. I think that where you have the ideal thing would be you have a non-Bitcoin liquidation event. That's where I come at this from, is that you got to be willing to the fund would have to have a major discount, and you would need to collateralize the Bitcoin so as to get the leverage, but without surrendering, because you're going to have 3-to-1 leverage. I don't think you'd have to really, have the issue of custodial issue. It would simply be down to a breach of those properties. I got to believe it really carries some merit. I'm sure people are looking at it, but you're able to do that without a corporation. That's what Sailor's doing, right? I think we could see some medium-sized companies do this year. Smaller companies that have cash. Anyone with cash on the balance sheet should be looking at a percentage of that cash on the balance sheet after they've covered 6 months of cost, whatever overheads. Uh, Most middle-sized companies do not manage their money well at all, if they even manage it. Okay, who we got up? Sorry, I went on there for a bit. We got Neo, then we got Art Illusion, and then High Roller. Let's give it a minute or two each, guys. What's up?
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Yeah, I have a small business, and I recently started allocating to my balance sheet. Obviously, in a very small amount, but been been saving in Bitcoin forever on a personal level, but now I have recently started with my company. So I'm one of those. Now, I have a comment regarding your marketing comment. I know where you're coming from, that, Bitcoin made it this far without any marketing. I know where you're coming from. I know what you mean.
No, I said they had horrific marketing. I will.
Okay.
They went out of their way to make it bad.
Yeah, but this is where I disagree, and I think you and I will agree on this. I think we have a great marketing team. I think Joe Powell, Biden, the Bank of International Settlement, the Fed, the CBDC, all of those people, I think they make a great marketing team. I think when it comes to, do you know that Trump haven't talked in 2 weeks? Do you know why? Because Biden is doing the marketing for him. You know that when your enemy is making mistakes, you don't want to interrupt, right? So I think that's even in the book of the what's the name of that book? The Tao War. What is the name? A very well-known book. That when your enemy is making a mistake, you don't want to interrupt. I think that's what's been happening, and I think the other aspect is when you have a product that is flawless, like Bitcoin is, just to call it a product, you don't need marketing because, and you know this, maybe Grant and you in real estate, when you have a good property, you don't need to promote it that much because people want it, right? So I think that's what's been happening with Bitcoin. Now I agree that with all the ETF coming in and all the second layer companies, all the startups with VC funding, they're all going to come with the marketing messages and they're going to amplify what we have accomplished. But that's what I wanted to say. I think we do have a marketing team. It's not what you and I expected, but they're actually helping people realize that it's either government, CBDS, CBDC, or Bitcoin, right? So that's where we're going.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Sam, you taking a shower, doing a sauna? What we got from Art Illusion? Art, what do you think Sam's doing right now, man?
You guys can guess, but you won't be correct.
Art, Art, what is
Oh,
Sam doing right
thank
now?
you. Can you guys hear me?
When you're talking, sir, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you, Gary. It's my first time in this space
Welcome.
since I. Thank you. Um, I just have a question. I just have a question. I'm from Argentina originally, and here we always try to find ways to fight the inflation of the peso. And lately, we are very uncertain about the stable coins since had been banned in Europe, and knowing that the stable coins like USDT, USDC are the ones which are mainly backing BTC price. My question to you guys is, what future do we have since all the stable coins are in the spotlight right now uh, from regulators, especially in Europe. And I'm wondering if that could also happen in the US, that they can also get into the spotlight to say, okay, we need to audit all these stable coins and see if they actually are backed by a dollar on every issued USDT, USDC, or any other stable coin? That's my question. It really concerns me.
Any of the speakers have a response?
I'll
So,
take
if
it.
I understand the question, you're thinking if stablecoins are going to be regulated here in the United States like they are elsewhere to make sure they're actually backed one for one. Did I interpret that correctly?
Sam, let's let Simon go. I'm going to bring you down because I can't hear you, bro.
No, my question is if it's,
Yeah, I
they
got a
can
question.
handle an audit, an official audit. Is my
Can you hear
question.
me?
Yeah,
I don't know
we
if
can hear you,
the
buddy.
okay, cool. I don't know if the guy that asked the question can hear me. Um,
Can you hear Simon, dude? Art? Yep, yep. Nope, nope.
okay,
Yep, yep.
cool.
Good.
All right. Yeah. So firstly, stablecoins haven't been banned in Europe. Stablecoins have got till December to comply with MiCA. And MiCA is a new crypto asset regulatory regime in Europe. And Circle USDC is regulated in France, and they've said that they meet the MiCA requirement. And both Tether and USDC already have fully transparent disclosure on all of the assets that are backing it already. Now, USDC has a full blown audit, and Tether has an attestation from a top BDO, like a top accounting firm that puts their reputation on the line. It's also been investigated by the Department of Justice, and if it was no longer backed at this stage, they'd be in prison. The people would be in prison. It's been through more scrutiny than you can imagine. And now, throughout its history, no doubt they had a rocky ride, and they probably got up to all sorts of shady shit. But there's really high standards, way higher standards than a bank in terms of transparency. So all of these stable coins are backed by treasuries, and you can see exactly what happens. And anytime those assets, like when Circle had some of its money held at Silicon Valley Bank, the price depegs and the market determines what the value of that stable coin is. And then once you can determine that it is fully backed, it goes back to its price. But yeah, these are companies that are going to be regulated. Now, the question was, I think you said, but is if Bitcoin's backed by stable coins? Just because people put dollars into an exchange and then they issue some of those stable coins, and then those funds are then lent to the U.S. government and it's backed by treasuries. That whole flow is really transparent now.
That was exactly my question. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so you could go on the Tether website and go to their transparency page, and you can see every exactly what assets are backing it, and a report by BDO, which is an accounting firm, with their attestation that they are willing to put their reputation on the line, that those assets are there. And you could do the same for Circle. And Circle, the assets behind it are managed by BlackRock, and with Tether, it's managed by Cantor Fitzgerald. So one could say they're as trustworthy as the financial institutions that are managing those. So if you're particularly untrustworthy about an institution like BlackRock, then they're just as trustworthy as the institutions. And most of the money is invested in the US government. So you'd have to make an opinion about what you think of the US government's credit rating. And these are the types of risks we're talking about at this stage. But yeah, in terms of their banning, I don't see any movement towards banning stablecoins. I see movements towards regulating them, and the market just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and new and different players until you get to its infancy, where central banks will just issue them. So
So
yeah,
we are not we cannot imagine that this could be a setup for a liquidity crisis, because we went through this in Argentina in 2001. That's why I'm very skeptic about this situation.
yeah, sure. So you've seen different things when you say liquidity crisis. So if the US government goes bust and these stablecoins are backed by US treasuries, that's the risk that you need to factor in.
Yeah, a huge risk actually. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
but
Correct. So
saying.
Simon
if the
didn't say
US
he would.
government goes bust, then
You
these
didn't say
stable
you were going to invest in stable coins. You just said it would provide a lot of liquidity in the market, right? That's what you meant, Simon. So you're not scared of the stable or the CBDCs, nor am I.
no, because if one stable coin goes bankrupt, then everyone gets to redeem their stable coin. They have to sell the assets underneath it. So let's say Tether's $100 billion, and it's backed by whatever it is, $95 billion of treasuries, and then some other kind of assets. Then all they need to do is if the government then says, "Hey, Tether, you're closed," then they need to sell a bunch of their treasury. And by the way, the more and more treasuries it's backed by, the less and less likely the government is to do that. Because the government's looking for a way of going direct of selling their treasuries. And if this market goes into the trillions, it's a great deal for them. Um, but yeah, the more you can unwind the stablecoin pretty easy. It would be disruptive. But guess what everyone is most likely to do? If I own a bunch of Tether and the government says this close this thing down, I'm gonna be like, well, what's firstly before it shuts down, I'm gonna be like, how quickly can I get it into Bitcoin so that it's somebody else's problem? And so immediately, if I could get it into Bitcoin, that would create a load of Bitcoin buying pressure for Bitcoin. And then let's say, okay, I got stuck in it and I can't redeem it now, and all the exchanges have said they're not supporting it. Then I'd just be in a completely solvent bankruptcy process where they're unwinding the assets, where there's more assets than liabilities,
And
and I
Simon,
end up with a
Simon,
dollar check,
and
and then
how
I
big
buy
is
some Bitcoin.
sorry, and how big is the possibility that this could trigger a contagious situation when the government would declare what you just said on
So
stable
what's
coins?
the risk of the government banning stablecoins?
Not ban it, but
I, I think I think
they
in a
would
country
say,
like I think in a country, that's got a regime like Argentina and capital controls, then obviously they try to ban everything but their own currency. So that's a different type of situation, versus America deciding that they're going to ban. Now, America could say, we want to make it very, very hard for Tether to deal with American investors. And so we're going to give the whole market to Circle instead and make sure it stays within US jurisdiction with a trusted player that we can knock on their door in America. But I think there could be, there's the unwind process. I think is pretty clean. It's not an FTX where there's a massive hole. Like it's very easy to unwind these things in terms of, yeah. I don't see this. The systemic risk event is if you have a situation like the banks are in where you have to suddenly sell the assets in distress, and you're selling your assets at a deep discount to try and meet withdrawal demand. But that was more, systemic in the whole market, the treasury market and interest rates. I don't want to. I don't want to. There are risks to manage. You're completely right to be thinking about these risks, but you got to kind of try and understand what risk you're trying to hedge against and what the risk is.
Yes, thank you, Simon. A couple of weeks ago, I heard Donald Trump uh, being supportive of BTC, but at the end, he says something very um, that he called my attention. That he say even though I support BTC, still my favorite coin will be the dollar. Is USDT or USDC a dollar?
I
Is the
got to tell you
question.
something. I actually saw that as an authentic comment. I really actually loved when he said that. I too noticed it. He was basically saying, look, I'll support this industry, but make no mistake, okay, I'm not for Bitcoin overseeing and overcoming it becomes the dollar. right?
That's my point. That's my
Yeah,
point.
yeah, but why do you care, man? Look, to Simon's point, the more transparency that we can introduce into this market, every time you bring a flashlight to monopoly markets like this, the light gets brighter. Okay, we just need the damn tool inside the market. So you're going to be able to compare a public blockchain financial book that has to report to analysts on a quarterly basis to public blockchains, and you and I will get to decide which ones we participate with. I think that's a cool market, man. Government market, public market, private market. Everybody gets to decide what they want to do.
Free market. That's right. I'm a
Beautiful.
libertarian, so I'm supportive of free marketplace,
Yeah. Let's get to a couple
especially
other hands. Let's see. Maybe they got some comments or questions.
playing like,
Ma- Maybe
yes,
High
go ahead, go ahead.
maybe
I
High
don't want to take it
Roller or
off.
Dave's got something to say about this
Thank you for
subject.
the mic.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Hey. I mean, I love listening to you guys. Your thoughts on Bitcoin. I just wanted to give another perspective as someone who's more of a user, and I guess maybe more in the front lines on kind of some of the development. I mean, from a lot of our perspective, what we see is like Bitcoin. It's once you understand it, you don't you don't revert that understanding, and so more and more people are understanding this technology, and so like this, like Donald Trump, for example, it's obvious that he has some inkling on it, and there's maybe some a bit of it that was appealing to him was maybe explained to him, but what really matters is those who understand it, right? And as you understand more about Bitcoin and how it fundamentally works and how it's not, I mean, it is scarce, but it's more than just scarce because, like someone brought up, people lose their coins. There's UTXO management. There's a lot of different things with, it increases the value of Bitcoin. And, we're just incredibly early. Like right now, we're not truly at the like 1 billion people mark. And when we get there, that's when I think, the cycle starts to break, right? And we see, basically people start looking at Satoshis, and we see, the like, I'm sure, Gary thinks about this a bit, as the price goes up, the types of loans that we're going to be able to get, they become more towards like how we look at property today. And we see more of like an understanding between like larger institutions and countries, and of like how to use and adopt this technology. So I mean, it's really just an understanding curve, right? And the price and how we adopt it and how much we stick to holding our Bitcoin, that's pretty much just an understanding curve. How much there's a global demand for this uncorruptible money, and it's not so much like when people get in it, they don't want to sell out. Selling out's not really the problem. The problem is what you're thinking about Bitcoin, right? If you're thinking long term because you understand Bitcoin, you're thinking 20 years. You're thinking your kids, you're thinking your grandkids. And for a lot of us who are on the front lines, it is also about how do we use our Bitcoin. So I know you guys are thinking right now from like the traditional finance sector, how do I take loans? How do I peel off a little bit here and there? How do I trade it for these other assets? But I'll tell you now, and you'll see it more in like August, November, December. There's going to be places. I don't want to shill anything here, so I'll let you guys do your research. There's going to be layer twos on Bitcoin that will effectively let you use your Bitcoin more like securely and more like DeFi than maybe Ethereum and all these other ones. And the great thing about this is you get to trust it over time, and it does everything, all that comes to Bitcoin furthers Bitcoin. And so all of you do well inherently as we build economies on Bitcoin. So I just, look forward to that. Just generally think about how Bitcoin's moving on without you guys, right? We're building on Bitcoin. We're taking Bitcoin to that next level, making all these things that you want. Like Gary said, I want to potentially, have this this like a contract where kind of my assets tied to my real estate, my Bitcoin's tied to my real estate. Well, I'll be honest, that'll come, right? And it's kind of, you can see that right now with like some of the crypto, some of the digital assets, right? I'll tell you now, like they do tie one digital asset to another, right? If and it's not as simple as, you know, if the price goes down, it really is sometimes as close to as like it has to go all the way down for you to be even considered liquidating. And so that offers like a lot more opportunity for people as you get on the decentralized train, right? On the decentralized, secure, not touched by, you know, some centralized interest, special interest. So yeah, I just wanted to give that perspective.
No, I want to reiterate that as well. You know, if you haven't played with, this is why like Ethereum was so. I just can't wait for this stuff to come to Bitcoin. But you can literally on Ethereum, you can take out a a, a stable coin loan. You can lock up your ETH, and the entire smart contract is flawless. Like if you want, the margin call is algorithmically done. You can add to your collateral. Like during the whole collapse of the 2022 centralized financial institutions, like the whole DeFi ecosystem performed exactly as it was meant to perform. Um, and when that all comes to Bitcoin, when you can programmatically do everything that you wanted a traditional financial institution to do, like we haven't even touched upon that. We've been trying to do that since, you know, that for over 12 years now, and then Ethereum did it. But now we've got this revival of communities building on top of Bitcoin, and the amount of building and the energy that's going into trying to replicate Ethereum on top of Bitcoin, like that's a whole nother system that goes side by side as all the TradFi players look at what they're going to do with it. All the people that have it in cold storage, you know, they're going to be smart contracting this stuff on Bitcoin. That's all untapped value that we haven't seen yet, and it's awesome.
Just to add to that, I think what's important for people to understand is that a lot of the applications today, whether it's your basic traditional applications or all these DeFi applications, all these other things that people are trading, in right now, and you know, as these Bitcoin layer twos get developed even further, because some amazing upgrades are coming, these things all do actually come to Bitcoin, and it's not like some joke or some saying like we all used to say, oh, it all eventually comes to Bitcoin. That was more of a play on, you know, how developers will integrate things into layer one. That's not practical, right? And when we say it all comes to Bitcoin, what we're actually talking about is one, being secured on Bitcoin, and then two, it leveraging the value and the power of Bitcoin. So I mean, what's incredibly important here is that whether it's real estate, whether it's building applications, whether it's just taking every single app on Ethereum one to one, every single app on Solana one to one, and building it on Bitcoin with the same or better logic, right? That actually is here, right? And it's coming faster and better in the next 3 months. No shilling, I guess.
And that's the solution for miners as well, because miners need a sustainable solution for transitioning from block rewards to transaction fees. And so, as the demand for higher and higher value transaction feeds on chain come through, just like Bitcoin's, this is it's just the last free market left. It just adjusts, and then as fees get more expensive, that drives all the exchanges to start integrating with Lightning, and that takes all the layer two innovations in order to figure out how do you have these slightly, you know, different iterations for completely, you know, lower transaction fees on layer twos. Like the none of that has actually factored into the equation yet because Bitcoin just adjusts. And we got this whole adjustment of, we saw it when Bitcoin halved from to three, was it yeah, when it went through the halving, on that day, everyone was bidding to be included in the blocks, just like the post halving blocks for all of their runes and NFTs and all stuff like that. And there was just weeks and weeks where miners were just earning more than they would have from that, and that just gave us this indication of how rapidly the market adjusts to its circumstance. And yeah, it was pretty incredible watching that.
I think one thing you're kind of touching on, and it's very, very important that people get here, is that there's actually fragmented different, there's more markets than just the Bitcoin holders, right? There's a lot of these markets built on top of Bitcoin, like these ordinals, and like what Simon's kind of getting to here is like on that day, what was actually happening that raised those fees so high was this runes launch. And what's important for people to understand is a lot of what's coming when I keep mentioning Bitcoin layer twos is that these markets actually also converge, right? Because they have a problem too, right? They can't move these assets that they now bought, and they can't transact with these assets they now bought because it's too expensive to use Bitcoin a lot of the times, right? And so, what people have to understand is that there's a lot of different ways. Like you can name a ton of different problems people have or they think they have with Bitcoin today, whether it's with Lightning, whether it's with ordinals, whether it's with just holding your Bitcoin, and then all these existential problems they think they have with like, oh, in 10 years it'll be so expensive, how does the average person get? No, that's not even a problem, right? The reality is, what people don't realize is Bitcoin wasn't supposed to be all layer one. Once you get that out of your head, you keep Bitcoin layer one as that reserve base value. Then you get on to, okay, how do I truly use the Bitcoin? How do I keep it, whether it's completely traditional applications that you just tell people is tied to Bitcoin, all the way to what is now here, a more decentralized, a fully decentralized in some cases, and in the best cases, a fully decentralized blockchain that sits on top of Bitcoin, that lets you move assets from Bitcoin L1 to that L2 seamlessly, and then lets you transact with those L2 assets seamlessly and peg back onto Bitcoin L1 seamlessly without losing a drop of security, right? And that kind of experience is coming. And what that really means is everyone should kind of be prepared for how retail looks at this. Retail doesn't see it as like, oh, things are coming in the future. They don't know the shit that's coming in the future. The same way you guys don't know a lot of it because you have a lot of other things that you have to see. But retail is kind of where it starts to light the fire. And when retail understands that, wait a minute, there's a blockchain that's fast and I get to use my Bitcoin, and it starts to pick up steam and all these assets start moving on it, that's when people start to really get it, right? And so retail, they're not quick to understand it, and as more and more retail gets screwed over by these shit coins, you kind of get a little bit headwinds. But overall, as more and more people come to Bitcoin, more and more people understand that they have to deploy that Bitcoin somehow over time. It's not just about holding your Bitcoin. It's also about payment services. How do businesses pay, or how does a person put 10 cents into some ATM or some place and get 10 cents worth of Bitcoin, right? How do I just dollar cost average the small amount every time as a user, right? And that's the kind of mindset you have to think of, and that's coming, right? That's basically here.
Yeah, and if we're giving you all a headache because you're wondering what the hell we're talking about, just be known that, yeah, okay, so there's this generation that's never going to do self custody. They'll go through the ETFs. There's all these different markets, but the next generation, self custody is not going to be an issue for them. It's not like this completely unnatural process. Most of the kids, and sorry if that's a derogatory term, but the kids that are engaging in all of these crazy crypto markets right now, this is the first financial product that they've touched. Like if you speak to, we had some in like the bankruptcies, yeah, where they they were asking, how do I take, so one of the bankruptcies, like Celsius, it gave everyone their coins back and some shares, and the younger people were like, oh my god, how do I take delivery of shares? What the hell is that? how do I open, like, can you just airdrop it to my MetaMask wallet? And they
That's
were like trying to,
hilarious.
yeah, because their first touch point, the first financial product that they ever touched was, buying some ETH or Solana and doing an NFT and going straight into a smart contract. They're not. That's what the future generation is going to be doing. So this unnatural process of thinking about self custody, while it might be very unnatural to you, the next generation is all going to be doing this stuff, and that brings all value to your investment as well.
Hey, you guys, mind if I chime in?
Go for it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be a speaker. So I just want to like piggyback on some of that because what you were talking about was Bitcoin going mainstream, and with everything that's been happening politically, and for better or for worse, Bitcoin is a major political issue in the United States. It's starting to become, it's a presidential issue, and it's starting to kind of it's interesting because you have one side that is really vocal about it. You have another side that's kind of silent on it at this point. And so, there's hope that like we kind of come on the other side of this as like Bitcoin being a bipartisan issue. You have the SAB 121 bill, which was bipartisan, then vetoed, and now the U.S. Congress is saying they're going to try to pass it again. So, so it could wind up being bipartisan. But I think what it adds up to is
Grant
a
Cardone
huge
just left.
number. Oh, what? Excuse me? Oh, a huge number of people coming into the space. And I work at a company building Bitcoin technology that plays well with fiat. So I was interested in the conversation that you guys were having about stablecoins. But I think that the recent legislation and my conversations with bankers is really pointing to kind of an opportunity for banks now in 2025 timeframe to start to roll out Bitcoin products. And what you're going to see is, one of the things that banks do really well, okay, they do loans. They also do custody, right? They hold on to your assets, they don't lose them. They even have physical vaults. And so banks, the bankers I talk to, like banks are their business model is not interesting right now, right? Like they have a lot of trouble trying to find margins and trying to do interesting deals, obviously with treasuries and so on. Being underwater for a lot of them, but just in general, their lives are really tough, and they want to innovate, and they're so far their hands have sort of been tied, and there was really no end in sight to it. You just had like BSA, AML, KYC, just more and more and more, and then you had like we're going to have a CBDC imminently and so on, and I really have I'm feeling this tide shift, and I really think, I mean, it's not a done deal, but we as a company are really serious about this, and we're really looking at, building foundational kind of the architecture that banks might use to offer Bitcoin services, custody, loans, smart contracts, and so on. But I think custody and layer one is also part of this. I know that we've talked about how layer two is like really, really interesting, and I agree. But I do think that just layer one, the Bitcoin savings account, it's a UDXO that you own. You have, like a multi-sig with your bank. Like that market in itself is so untapped in the US. There's so much capital that would flow into that product. And I'm really bullish on that. And I really think that we finally may see that starting to happen in the next about year to year and a half.
I would wonder if this if you guys know Caitlin Long, I think that's her name.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Do you, I mean, like, I don't know if her thing is still going on as in like an ongoing thing with her bank, Custodia Bank, but I wonder if that gets resolved first, because I like to think,
That will be resolved no time soon. Her
yeah,
suit
I mean,
against the
some
federal.
a lot of my problem, or not my problem,
Joe, have they just have? I'm
Did we
sorry to
lose
interrupt
him?
you, sir. No. I'm interrupting the guy. Just I wanted to. Is this more of a?
We
Hey, we
can't
don't
hear
like
anyone.
you. You can't hear.
I can hear you fine.
You're talking about Caitlin Long Custodia, yeah? Joe,
Yeah.
can you hear Gary? Gary, can you hear?
Yeah, no, I'm back. Yeah, so I think that there was a discussion about that, and we can talk about that. I did want to chime in on some of the earlier commentary, if that's okay.
Well, the gentleman was speaking. I just wanted to know on custodial. I mean, is she being picked on, or is it just not the best strategy deployed,
Uh, well, I think it's
or
kind
maybe
of
a little
both.
both?
I think it's a little both actually, but that's a real long conversation about her effort to become, clearing with the Federal Reserve and whether it's a good old boys club and they won't let her play in the game and why they
Yeah,
won't have her.
I think that's the issue. Okay, because
Yeah,
it would not have been my
but
strategy. When I saw her, I'm like, oh, dude, you better
yeah,
slow down a little bit.
and you have to respect her. She's done
Yeah.
excellent
Oh,
work, and I think she's
agreed.
fantastic for the space. And I don't want to say anything negative at all
She's
about her,
awesome for
but
the space.
but what I will say, I want to go back for a second. Somebody was making a comment, which I'm still at a loss how we're so far into this thing, a decade or more now into Bitcoin, and you still have the guys who think like the secret to winning the game is the 10-cent play to get somebody to get 10 cents worth of Bitcoin. That makes no sense to me.
Can
Uh,
I,
I,
can I,
I,
can I
I,
actually can I actually
I
speak to that? I have a maybe an alternative view on that. I'm going to challenge that. So I agree with you. It's
well,
absurd that like an individual, okay, would be doing the 10-cent trade. I don't think
Papa
that matters.
Cardone, can you hear me? Papa
Yeah,
Cardone just left.
okay. But what's interesting about the micropayments, Joe, is the intersection between AI agents and using Bitcoin as an AI coordination mechanism. Because what you're going to see is, with compute being such a scarce resource going into the second part of this decade, energy being such a scarce resource, even as it increases, it's scarce because we just can't get enough of it, and we need the maximum in order to, whatever, at the government level have national security, or at the corporate level have successful tech companies that compete on the world stage. And the only solution that will work for these AI agents to autonomously coordinate their actions, we talk about human action, well, this is AI action, and the only thing you can use is sats, because you need final settlement, and you need it to be a micropayment, like at the level of a sat, or even, perhaps even
it's not.
smaller.
It's not final settlement. If final settlement's on main layer chain, you can't do final settlement on layer two. Otherwise, by definition, it's not final settlement. Therefore, transactions cannot occur. So let me just finish my original point because I thought it was going to be a small interruption. The issue is this: when you're going after a remake of the global monetary system and global financial order, okay, you don't go after the 10-cent transactions from the little guy. You go after the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is banks. Okay, banks and settlement layers for banks, which hold hundreds of trillions of dollars in assets across the world, are the final boss. Those are the ones to win. It's not the little microtransactions fund by esoteric AI transactions that are going to be 20 years from now before they take real proliferation for our society. You go after the market of the base layer, which is the global treasury market as the treasury reserve asset. That is the final boss. So, from my standpoint, when I hear this, I think it's like people are so confused. You're not trying to win over the little guy. The little guy will come along. By definition, the little guy is almost always left out, and he comes to the party last after the people have told him it's okay to get into the swimming pool. The big fish are what really matters. And in my estimation, I don't understand why people are missing this. They think that a monetary network, which is not the same as social networks, is not where everybody gets their Facebook profile, everybody gets their email, everybody gets their Wi-Fi access. No, all users are not created equal. The users that are power users are the ones who have the wealth. And when they port their wealth into a new system, the game changes. And people, it's just beyond me why people don't understand this.
Joe, I think you're 1000% right. And another thing I don't get is I think Bitcoin will eventually be way too expensive. Eventually, after so many years, people will the transaction fees, a Satoshi will be too much money to normally transact. So I think eventually we'll just have to go to other chains.
No, I don't know about that. I think. Well, so Joe, I actually 100% agree with everything you just said. And I see your point about if it's not on chain, it's not final settlement. And I understand that, and I understand that, you know, Lightning and so on is not final settlement. It's pretty darn close. I think that the thing that makes Bitcoin the only chain that's viable here, I kind of combine the concept of a fixed cap on the supply with final settlement, right? If you don't have network effects, you don't have Lindy, and you don't have a hard cap that is extremely hard to change, then you actually never do have final settlement, because anybody holding a token can always be diluted, which is pretty much adjacent to being confiscated, right? It's so close that it's almost a distinction without a difference. So actually, I mean, even I agree with you that layer two sort of muddies waters a little bit. I do think though that kind of the qualities of Bitcoin, I don't think you need micropayments to bring along the little guy. That's not at all what I'm saying. I was actually making a sort of a related point, which is there's these technology macro trends, there's these convergences coming down the pike in the next couple of years, and I'm really excited to explore that sort of on an, because I build products, so from an innovation level, I'm very excited about exploring the applications of micropayments for AI agent coordination.
Yeah, and that's all interesting, and I think it's going to be growing rapidly. Let me just put this a different way for folks that are thinking about this. Okay, the way the current system is set up, which you need to know if you're trying to change it, is it's set up based on credit, right? The lifeblood of our system is credit, which means that the facilitators, the hearts that pump that blood through our system are banking institutions. And the banks need something underneath them as collateral. Now, what do they use currently? Mostly they use sovereign debt, i.e., bonds. They use bonds as their base reserve, and then they rehypothecate their assets that then become liabilities. Right? That's basically what they do. They take the collateral they have, they rehypothecate it, sometimes 40 to 1, which is what the case with the great financial crisis, these institutions that were levered 40 to 1, out to different institutions. And it's all this big proliferation of credit. So the interesting question then becomes, let's remove that sovereign debt pillar as the foundation of the banking system. Let's provide them a money which was similar to the gold standard, right? Banks had a ton of gold, and then they rehypothecated that out to people. Let's replace that with a more auditable, a more traceable, finite asset like Bitcoin. Now the question becomes, if you are to do that, and again, attack the 800-pound gorilla or transform the 800-pound gorilla into Bitcoin as the base layer, what does that do to the credit markets? Because if your whole argument is there's going to be no credit, that's going to rapidly change the world, right? Like that's going to change the nature of everything in our society and make us rethink how whole institutions and industries are constructed. If your argument is no, it's not going to destroy credit, it's going to just limit it, or it's going to curb excess credit, or it's going to make people think twice about it, and it's going to let banking institutions know that there will not be some implicit backstop from sovereign nations behind you when you become too big to fail. That also has real repercussions, and it gives a purer cost of capital into society. So, all of this is to say that, the way you transform the game and really change something in a big, prolific, or profound way is you go after the banks. Because the banks themselves and the Bitcoin's role with those banks is the most important thing any of us could be talking about. How that affects it fundamentally. What is the result of banking activity? Does it truly destroy the banks? I don't believe that, for the record, that Bitcoin's going to destroy the banks. I think it's going to fundamentally change them. But that's the huge conversation in my mind.
Go ahead, Max. Thanks, Joe. And hey, by the way, whoever's doing the little noises, I thought I was pretty tolerant. I'm going to ask you not to do it. And again, and then I'll start looking for who the fuck it is. But let's be cool. Go ahead, Max.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Hello.
Max,
You
I'm
know,
going to bring you down because I can't hear you. High
oh,
roller, you got your hand up, buddy. Come on.
can you hear me?
He'll take you
I
down, then
hear
come
him.
back up.
Oh, okay.
If
High
you
roller, what's
request
up?
again, he'll let you back up, Max.
High roller, I can't hear you.
Oh, hello, hello.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hey, So I mean, we were talking a little bit before about the Custodia Bank, and I just wanted to just jump on that. I guess, what is it keeping banks from getting into, I guess, holding Bitcoin, or potentially getting into these more traditional ways of working with Bitcoin? Do you guys have any idea?
I mean, there's a slew of regs. You just lost Simon. He would have been really well spoke. Maybe Joe even can speak to it, but slew of regs. And my experience from that side of the industry is you don't like kind of going in real hot and heavy. And look, let's be clear, okay? We're bringing a flashlight to the market, and it's easy to get sucked into using the differences between how great our settlement system is versus their horrible system. But it's a club. And so I just don't want. I saw the conversation going to, okay, we're putting a lot of regs on custodian type banks wanting to do something solo and digital, but I'm not sure you can just pull one egg out of the solution and go, well, that failed, so the whole experiment failed. There will be independent players, I have no doubt.
So I mean,
Jody, all over the world. See,
Yeah.
like
So
also spread all over the world.
you're about specifically SAB 121 or the denial of the master.
Sorry, you're asking about the repeal of
21, or are you asking about the master account for Custodia Bank? What was the question?
What was
so
the
so
guy that brought the question up? Is he still here?
So I mean, the primary question was, basically what's stopping banks, but the custodia part was, more towards like, if they're not getting any kind of approval, or look at it, is it even likely that banks will? Because from my perspective, it's not technology that's holding them back, right? Like, I'm in the tech side, so like I have an idea that
No,
when you
Fidelity has it.
when I mean, okay,
So
yeah, so I mean, it's
Okay,
it's
okay,
not holding
we're
them back
talking about
from the tech side.
we're ta- yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. We're talking
no,
about a
go
couple
ahead,
different
Joe.
things. Okay, so SAB 121 was an accounting bulletin put forward by the SEC, right? And what Congress did on a bipartisan fashion, whoever the speaker was earlier, he was correct. They repealed it, sent it to Biden's desk, and Biden vetoed it. Okay, now a lot of people didn't like the SEC's action with 121. There's a variety of requirements in there. You can go in. They're mostly technical, like gap accounting requirements and filing statements that need to be made, and how there should be accounting treatments for the fair value of crypto assets. Things that basically are regulatory barriers and impediments to more TradFi institutions holding digital assets generally. Okay, so there's broad support among Wall Street and the crypto lobby to get 121 repealed. Okay, so I'm optimistic that it will eventually be repealed. I think that there is, like I said, broad, you know, bipartisan support for it. It's really just you probably need a new president that's not going to veto it, and I think the Trump administration has already signaled they won't veto it. Now, Caitlin Long's situation was totally different. She is effectively suing to get a master account with the Federal Reserve. She lost in the district court, the Wyoming district court, and now she's up on appeal and in the courts of appeals. And basically, what she's trying to argue is that the Federal Reserve does not have discretion, as the lower court found, to decide who gets the master accounts with the Federal Reserve. And if you become basically a Federal Reserve preferred institution, just to oversimplify, what it does is it makes you have pretty broad tentacles throughout the financial system, and you can clear a lot of trades and activities basically with the Fed as a counterparty, which is significant, right? That is a powerful development. Would it be for Custodia Bank? And obviously, Custodia is very pro crypto generally, so it would be a hallmark for the industry to have that kind of preferred status with the Federal Reserve.
So I see what you're saying, but just from like a philosophical standpoint, isn't it effectively kind of the same if a bank can hold my Bitcoin and I trust them to hold my Bitcoin, versus what I mean, Custodia is obviously dollars. I mean, the primary idea was, do I is there a custodial group that I can trust? And if it was my own bank, and maybe I trusted banks more, I mean, the idea was, can I put my money in a bank and know that on chain it's there, and then effectively can I make sure that it'll never, quote unquote, disappear?
Yeah, so let's just cut the issues into different buckets. There's first the issue of how much trust you should have with third parties and custodians generally. Now, I think if you polled most Americans on this issue, and I'm saying just in America, okay, I think the vast majority overwhelmingly trust their financial institutions. Okay, now that is not to say that there isn't huge value in something like Bitcoin, because the problem we have with the financial institutions is their ability to play games and, as they say, mess around and find out, and then the government comes in and backstop it, and it hurts the little guy, but the big guys all get bailed out and they get theirs. That is what I think most Americans dislike about the system. So what I think that, the future that makes the most sense, and anybody else can chime in on this, is sort of splitting the difference. Right? Imagine a world where you can take a broader ownership and custody, and you have that choice and freedom to do so in a non-custodial way. But you also can recognize that in a modern society, we can have custodians. We can have institutions that we do place a sufficient amount of trust in. Maybe not all of our assets, but maybe we have enough in those institutions to, get credit and engage in certain other activities with them as a counterparty. And you don't need to do it all or none. Right now, in our current system, it's very difficult to deal with large amounts of cash. That is not true with large amounts of Bitcoin. You can have massive trades of Bitcoin. You can send $150 million on a Saturday while no one's looking, and it can be extremely efficient. But you can't do that with cash. It does not exist. So it's a natural evolution where you get more freedom in the hands of the users, and because of that, I view that as a fundamental check on these institutions, which basically monopolize the game for a very long period. So I don't view them as inconsistent, and I don't view them as mutually exclusive.
Do they scare you?
Big institutions in general,
Yeah,
Gary?
well, just the whole setup, right? I mean, what makes you afraid with Bitcoin? I mean, because I think the question really is, hey, is this going to be bad for Bitcoin? I don't see any of this being bad for Bitcoin. Any of
It's
the
not.
arguments. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, and I think it's a little bit of naivety to think that Bitcoin can grow to be the global reserve asset, the global monetary order, and some of the biggest players in our society, which are banking institutions and wealthy people, aren't going to have a lot of Bitcoin. I mean, it just seems kind of illogical to me. I mean, I think people's utopian vision of no banking institutions, no credit activities, and everybody just holding Bitcoin on chain, it seems farcical. I don't think that's the way the world works. I think the world likes to let you choose, and it will move towards more freedom and liberty over time. But that is not to say that you're going to do away with all the banks. It's more of a limited, it's a curtail of banks' excess and greed and unchecked ability to influence public policymakers. It's curtailing the negative activities we dislike and putting more hands in the powers of individuals, which is a fundamentally positive thing.
Totally agree. Who else? Who else? I think it might be time to close the space. Who else? Go ahead, Max, then High Roller again. Sharon, I had lunch with Sharon. What day is it? Sunday. Hey, Sharon, good to have you up here. Max and High Roller, hold your lips. Sharon, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Gary. How are you doing today?
Well, glad I'm alive. Uh, happy holder of Bitcoin, and I got
Right on.
I got friends, and the my space is expanding around Bitcoin subjects. I would never have met you, and you and I had lunch talking about all kinds of things. I think Saturday or Sunday. Today's Monday, right? Yeah, yesterday, right? Whole
Yep,
24
yep.
hours ago. How you doing?
Lots of things. Yep.
Did you enjoy the Dolly?
Yes, I did. I did quite a bit. That was the perfect topper to the afternoon.
Look, you want to introduce yourself to the to my little team here, the tribe, the Cardone tribe. Some of them may not know who you are.
All right. Well, I'm Sharon 21M, and I've been studying Bitcoin for quite a few years.
Wow, that is like just a dose of transparency. Thank you for the color. Um, do you do you have any? By the way, guys, Simon, who was up here just earlier, he introduced me to Sharon. So I think she's just being overly humble. I learned from my brother once. I heard him say something. He said, "Obscurity is not you don't get a badge for obscurity." Thought that was a very good phrase. Have you been listening long? And if so, what do you think of the topic?
Yeah. So actually, I love hearing Joe um, talk about things in general in the Bitcoin space. This whole challenge of what kind of options people should have, and looking at custody and credit, which are two different, related, interdependent, but not solely interdependent topics, is is I think pretty interesting and pretty key to how things shape up in the next, year, 5 years in the U.S. So I'd actually love to hear Joe continue on a bit more.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but I have bedtime duties, so I got to sign off. Thanks for everybody.
Joe,
Good talking with you.
Joe, come back when you can.
Will do.
Guys,
Gary,
you just saw an example of a very smart human being. Okay, when I see a human being spend 1 minute on speaking on herself, high level, and then go to the smartest guy in the room and praise him, and then flip the stage over to him. This is a professional. Sharon, I really enjoyed the 2.5 hours with you. I thought, like, the more time I spend around and I meet more and more people, I'm really impressed by the intellectual capital that's coming into this market. And like, if you guys aren't following Sharon, she's very smart, um, multi-dimensional. I mean, she's got experience of a number of different markets, and I'm seeing that become uh, a lot more people coming in here with shall we say, a broader view of how this game's going to get played. I think a more balanced, probably pragmatic view. And mine is, of course, never to give up the freedom, okay, the liberty of Bitcoin. But I'm just a big believer in, hey, you got to get to first base to get to second base, and we just got to get on base, fully on base, and then it's our game to lose. You agree, Sharon? I mean, you've been
I,
around long enough to know we were laughing. It's like, what other industry's been attacked like this, and it's still worth $1 trillion?
yeah, I mean, freedom money, and things that support our ability to choose and have freedom and have options is so crucial. And we talked a little bit about this, but there's a lot more to talk about, where there are so many corners of the earth that don't have those same kind of options as readily available. So it's that level of importance that this space being built out well, with strength, and quick. That's why it's so important.
Yeah, I agree with everything except quick. I don't think we're in a rush personally. I think we should slow down and have a longer term view of how much we can digest properly. Because really, all you have to do is let the other parts of the system fail. Like right now, I mean, I'm impressed with Trump, quite frankly, because he's just not making any noise because he doesn't have to. Okay, you want to talk about a narcissist? Okay, a true narcissist would be on TV right now and Twitter banging on Biden. So he's actually Trump's doing a good job, and I would, quit poking scissors in the eyes of the major system. Tell him what you're going to do. Bitcoin's a beautiful Trojan horse. Once you enter this, it's a transparency paradigm, and once you push a little transparency into the system, it becomes so clear what's happening and where all the it's like mercury. It just goes finds the lowest point to fill up. So that's the way I see it. It's not complicated.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that analogy.
Oh, thank
Mercury.
you.
Hey, Gary, this is
Awesome.
Mel Carmine here down in Merritt Island, Florida. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, good to have you.
Awesome, awesome. Unfortunately, I hate to admit it, I'm embarrassed. I'm the guy that was making the noises, but not intentionally. I'm trying to escape that stupid window, except it's not giving me an X. Okay, and I thought it was an X, and it made another noise. I'm embarrassed, but I apologize.
No,
Anyway,
no problem. I didn't know who it was. It's cool.
no,
Thank
no,
you
it
for
wasn't
your
intentional.
honesty.
I'm not.
You're
I
absolved of
haven't.
all your sins, my friend.
Yeah, I'm having such a great time. I'm a big fan of your brothers. I watched your interview 3 times on Black Swan Capitalist about a month ago. Those are friends of mine, by the way. Look, at the end of the day, you like Lincolns, I like Cadillacs. It all comes down to wash. We're going through a space that's going to need massive education. We're not there yet. We're in a kabuki theater. Trump is absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. Trump is playing it exactly the way it's supposed to be played. You never interrupt an enemy when he's hanging himself. Joey Bag of Donuts has to go away so the dust is going to settle the way it's supposed to settle. Where we got quite a long ways to go. The educational process is quite the challenge. Bitcoin. Obviously, we all pay homage to it because Bitcoin paved the way for everything else, and there's not going to be one that's going to rule them all. There'll be the XRPs, the XLMs, the XECs, the ISO tokens are going to be something to really pay attention to, even though they might be small in price. Listen, there was a day where you could buy 800 bitcoins for $1 the very first day it came off the shelf. A lot of people don't understand that. I mean, God forbid you would have thrown 10 or 20 bucks at it, right? Back then, you would have become a very, very, very wealthy individual. However, I will tell you that
If you'd have kept it.
yes, if you would have kept this, yeah, I'm a hodler. I've been at this for 9 years. I've been hodling the one I believe in, which is my Lincoln or my Cadillac, which is XRP, XLM, XDC, etc. The ISOs is the one I really believe in. I started off with Bitcoin, and like I say, I have great respect for the people who believe in the Bitcoin.
Hey, can I
But
ask you what your weighted average is? Not your volume, but just your weighted average
what do you mean by weighted
on
average?
XRP. What's your cost base?
Oh, about 19 cents. I got in when it was
Okay.
0.002 of a penny. Not bad, right?
No, excellent. No, but I always want to know because I think that does frame your viewpoint, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely. Yeah, I'm a
if I
dollar
was
cost
in,
average guy. I wouldn't even dare trade in this market. You'd have to be suicidal to trade in this
yeah, I
market.
mean, if I said, hey, man, my entire net worth, I just bought it on XRP,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I
right?
wish that you would get really educated on XRP as much as you are
Everybody
on
wants me to
XLM.
get
Or rather
educated on
on Bitcoin.
XRP. I know,
Yeah.
dude. You can't believe how many people want to educate me on like
No, 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 no,
12
no.
coins. And
Listen, it's not something you're going to learn overnight, dude. Just like you've been at, Bitcoin. Look, when I watched you on Black Swan Capitalist, you almost had me convinced that I should sell my XRP and buy Bitcoin. No bullshit. Okay.
you should, dude.
Listen,
I'll debate you right now.
no, no, no. I'm not going to get here to debate you.
Well,
I
hey,
appreciate your respect.
what part of the conversation that you watched 3 times? Thank you so
Uh,
much. But what part of
Well,
that
I
conversation
watched all
got
of
you?
it. I like your street lingo mixed up with some education and whatever else you learned from Bitcoin, and I like the way you move. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean. So the bottom line is, I liked all of it, to be quite frank. But
Should I have some Tupac in the background and
you
a bag
should.
of dope?
By the
Maybe
way,
start
I
wearing a gold.
watched your brother's billionaire thing, billion undercover billionaire like, a bunch of times as well. Binge watched it. Fabulous. Yeah, everybody who's an entrepreneur or wants to become an entrepreneur and wants to learn the art of entrepreneurship, that is a must, absolute must. But anyway, needless to say,
He
not to get
told me
off
that
track.
was I have not seen that show.
You have
But
not?
no, but
Oh my God,
um, he told me it was the second hardest thing he's ever done.
brother. Let me tell you
Yeah,
something. Not for nothing. It is very powerful if you understand. I've been an entrepreneur. I'm a Sicilian immigrant. I came here as a toddler, 8 years old, and been here for quite some time.
that's what you like about me, though. You see the Sicilian swagger.
Yes, exactly. You exactly. I think that's what it is. But anyway, look. at the end of the day, we're
Too
moving
many,
in
hey,
those.
too many gamblers in the family. I think too many.
Yeah.
La Costa Nostra. Let me hear ya.
Yeah.
My name's Carlos Marcello, and your father was a good man. Good night.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you. I got my own show on YouTube. I mean, I've created quite the following. I mean, not as big as your brother, obviously. I wish I could get as big as your brother one day, hopefully. But I got about 250,000 people that follow me on all the different platforms.
Wow, man.
In
Send
two
them
and a
my
half
way,
years,
would you?
that's
Hey,
not
send them
bad.
my way. Good job to you, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
What do
So I would love to
what's
have
it
you on
called?
my
The
show,
Sicilian.
actually.
Call it in. Call. I owe you.
Yeah.
What do you call it though? The Sicilian Stallion channel or
No,
something?
the name of
You
what you
should,
see
man. We
here that
should
I'm
do it.
talking about is
We could
X
do a
Sharp. Yeah,
Sicilian Stallion little weekly. Only alpha
yeah,
males.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Funded by the
XRP
Tate
QFS
brothers.
team. There was the same thing that you see there in the logo is what I go under. You could follow me, send me a message. I'll put you on my show.
Let's make it work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Would love to actually interview your brother. That's the ultimate goal to interview your
Oh,
brother.
now don't do that to me now. Hey,
No.
Dennis Porter, what's up, bro? What's up? What's up? Dennis, he's trying to move me around like I'm a little bishop. Wants to get to the queen or the king. What's up, Dennis?
Sorry, I was so far away from my unmute button. It took me a while to get back to it. Things are going well. Have you guys been watching the recent update?
Oh, give it to us, buddy. You want to, in fact, Dennis, introduce yourself to everyone. Dennis does a tremendous amount of work, and I will do him a disservice by introducing you. But one monster amount of leg work. I don't know how many miles you've traveled this year, bro, but I take my hat off to you because I really know what that's like. But beyond that, Dennis, you're a good spokesman for the Bitcoin community around the kind of political framework. Would you tell everybody who you are and kind of where you came from?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. It's great to see you. And sorry we missed each other in Florida recently. I'm sure we will be able to catch up soon. Yeah, for those of people that don't know me in the room, my name is Dennis Porter. I am the CEO and co-founder of Satoshi Action Fund, which is a nonprofit that goes out to educate lawmakers, regulators, and the general public on the benefits of Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, and digital asset technology. It's our goal, has been our goal to change the narrative on Bitcoin since our inception just a little bit over 2 years ago. And we've had a ton of success trying to accomplish that goal. We've been able to educate over 1,000 lawmakers. Most recently, we had a book drive where we hand delivered a copy of a Bitcoin book to every single congressional office in Washington, D.C. Yes, we literally walked to every single office and hand delivered a book. We also craft model policy, and we've passed that model policy into law to protect the right to mine and to protect the right to self custody and also to protect against CBDCs. We recently banned CBDCs in the state of Louisiana. So we're very, very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. On top of all that, we've also generated research around Bitcoin, right? Because a lot of us we're in these podcast world, and we all have a big enough brain to be able to sit there and understand that there is a ton of value that Bitcoin has to offer. But sometimes lawmakers, people in the political space, they love academic research, and so we've spent considerable resources developing first of its kind foundational research, even peer reviewed research around Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and its potential for the grid, uh, its potential to be able to mitigate methane emissions, the ability for it to uh, help incentivize the growth of renewable energy or clean energy. So a ton of different things that we've done, but most recently, this is the big update. So we've been traveling the country, working with lawmakers, over 1,000 lawmakers, predominantly mostly the Republican lawmakers, because they've been the ones that have been most open to moving on this type of policy. And we've been able to introduce our policy in over 20 states. So tons of different lawmakers have not only been exposed to our policy and to Bitcoin, but also we went to those states, as Gary mentioned, and we educated the lawmakers there on why this policy should be passed into law. Um, and now what we're seeing as of today is the Republican Party has put out its final draft on its party platform. And in that party platform, they specifically say, and I'll read it for you: Republicans will end Democrats' unlawful and un American crypto crackdown and oppose the creation of a central bank digital currency. We will defend the right to mine Bitcoin and ensure every American has the right to self custody. of their digital assets. So that's very interesting, that line right there, because those lines, the right to mine, that is Satoshi action model policy, and it's just so exciting, really, to see it get picked up by one of the major parties and put into their final draft for their party platform. The way that, just as a note, the way these party platforms get put together is they, the Republicans that are part of the party, like part of the actual party leadership, which is the people that are elected or that actually operate the party, they go to these committees and they put these party platforms together. And so the people that show up there are the people that we were talking to and engaging with over the last 2 years and educating them on this technology and educating on why it matters. So we're extremely proud, having a bunch of different journalists reach out to us about this. So it's very exciting, and we're hoping to continue to see the growth of Bitcoin here in America, but not just for Republicans. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I want to see Democrats be pro Bitcoin too. But just the fact of the matter is that the Republicans are the first movers on this technology, and we shouldn't take that for granted. We should be trying to move as quickly as we can to make sure the USA is the leader for generations to come.
Dennis, I love what you said, and I picked up how you were straddling, and I just want to make a point here, guys, how you straddled the political blurriness earlier. You said, hey, a key political, somebody that's going to win is supporting the Bitcoin and the digital asset industry fully. One's not, without calling them out. And I know you're going to have to straddle this. It's going to be very important. I didn't say that as eloquently as I planned. However, I'd like to give some money to your the 1031. The what is it? It's a
So
nonprofit, right? So you
yeah,
you
yeah.
need funds. So see, this is, guys, where you're going to have to. It's really insure your Bitcoin, and minimally, even if you're not insuring your Bitcoin or your crypto, insure your future, because what Dennis is doing and his group is doing, you can't just sit in your chair anymore and go, okay, well, gosh, the big bad boogeyman, Citibank and J.P. Morgan and the Fed are, they got a team of people and they got money, and you're wanting disruption and you want freedom. Well, guess what? I mean, you got an army of people we got to feed. So I know a lot of people that do what Dennis does. Not a lot of people, but I think Dennis is doing it the right way. So Dennis, I would minimally like to give you 10 grand, but I need 10 people to match $1,000 dono right here. Okay. That I'm going to ask if I can get every person to at least DM me and tell me you're in, or in fact, do it. Let Dennis be the man, even if Dennis wants to bring up some people, but at least 10 people giving 1,000. If you want to do 1,000, doing $1, I don't really care, but I'll do 10 grand for sure match. And if you get more than that, I'll match probably whatever, if that's helpful.
That's extremely helpful. Yeah, thank you, Gary. That's very kind of you. I didn't come in here expecting you to
No, we didn't
make
set
any sort
this
of an
up.
announcement, any sort of an
Yeah, no, we
announcement. So
didn't
I
set
very much
this up.
appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure. Like, this will not get done. We have the ability, guys, to, to, because no one understands this industry, Dennis is now using this as a tool so that Bitcoin can begin to influence. You develop a relationship with these congressmen and senators over something that's cutting edge, you have a relationship with for the rest of your lives. And I think that's the transformational piece that people don't understand. To the story about Custody Bank, you know, I think people like Dennis are helping us reform and reshape the way we go into the industry. And it's really important for this 15-year-old, business to be introduced properly, because it's threatening to so many people. So I really love what you're doing. I really do. 10 grand, guys, need another 10 grand match. If you throw in 50, I'll probably do 50. So let's let it roll. I actually believe Dennis can help us a lot. And Dennis, I'd like to do more than, as you know, throw money at you.
Th-
Um,
Thank you,
Anything
Gary.
else you'd like to say, bro? What, what
No,
what's what's your annual
that's
budget? What's it cost to run the business, man? Walk me through
well,
that.
everything that we've accomplished over the last 2 years. I would say it rounds out to about $500,000 a year. So I mean, this is what we've been
So
telling people.
so
It's
so
like,
you spent
imagine.
500. You spent 500 grand, or you raised 500?
$500,000 is what we spent over the last year, right? So imagine if we
Yeah.
had, doubled that budget. I mean, it's
Yeah, but
incredible
talk
the
me through
impact we
this.
can have.
Can you talk me through this? Because this is the way I like to think of every business opportunity. How many cities and congressmen, senators, events did you do over that $500,000?
Oh, I don't even know if I could calculate. I mean, we're the last 6 months we've just been constantly on the road, going from
Okay, okay.
capital to capital building to
Well,
educate lawmakers.
have
But
you met 12 lawmakers or 112?
well, I'll just put it in context. In the last 2 years, we've met over 1,000 lawmakers.
Okay, so 1,000 lawmakers. That's $5 a lawmaker, right? No, it's 50. You're gonna need about five. If you could do that for $500 a lawmaker, man. Okay, you need $5 million, right? Am I wrong? Because you
I
need that.
think
Can you amplify that?
Yeah, I mean, dramatically. We haven't even really tapped into the Democrat side of the aisle yet, and it's Democrat states are more expensive to operate in because they're typically more heavy and populous and cost more expensive. So, I mean, if we really want to see America be a super pro Bitcoin bipartisan on digital assets, we need to be able to put this money forward, and we need to be able to raise the money to go target those states and start educating them, which is something that we've started to do already. But it's a capital intensive process, and we would love to be able to do it for free. But I can't employ my policy director or my director of development or my research director. They're not going to work for free. So anything that people can give is super appreciated. And I also wanted to ask you, Gary, if you don't mind if I tweet that out, if I tweet out that you're doing a match donation right now, and that I can just put that out into the ether so that others can see it and be able to support us. And I can attach the link to that as well and put it up top.
Did I lose everybody? Dennis, you
You're
there?
back. You're
Hey,
back.
you're back. You're back.
Whole thing crashed, and I was like, "Wow, what the hell, man?" I do have power, so anyway, sorry,
Did you hear the last thing I said, Gary?
dude. I didn't hear the last minute.
No worries. I basically said a few different things outlining what it would cost for us to be operating in these different states, and that we really want to make a big push. Like obviously the Republicans are on board, like the GOP is on board, Trump is on board. Like there's not much more else we need to do to make the Republicans more on board. Now we will continue to craft good Bitcoin policy to help them be able to get good laws on the books. But now we really want to turn our eyes to also getting some of those folks that are on the Democrat side as well. But those states are expensive to operate in, and so I kind of closed off by asking if Gary, if you'd be okay with me posting about it on Twitter about the match donation, so
Smash
that
it
I can
up,
get that
dude.
out there.
Do something sexy on it. Put a meme on it. I don't care, but let's put Trump's face on it. Um,
So Gary,
Bitcoin.
there's
Hey,
19
Bitcoin's
to
coming.
20,000 politicians at the state and federal level that are key to the decision making
Yeah.
that Dennis is trying to touch and his crew is trying to touch and educate. 19,000 is
Yeah,
what needs
look,
to be
I
reached.
think it'd be. I was trying to get to the budget. Really, I'm trying to show the audience like he's not driving a Porsche around and with his girlfriend popping champagne, unless of course it's with the Obamas, and then of course you have full privilege and rank, my friend. Have my black card. Enjoy the evening. Come back with a monster contract. Um, and that is going to be part of the way this is played, right? This game, we either will be the one speaking to the people that shape the next administrations and or challenge of the administrations, or somebody else is going to tell them what to do. But for sure they are going to be educated by someone. We need an army of dentists, quite frankly, and I'll help you in any way I can. Yeah, post it, dude. Make it
You
sexy for
said
sure though.
I'll make it a big post. It'll be one of my traditional breaking tweets. If people don't in the
Oh,
room who
there
don't
you
follow
go,
me,
man.
so I'll
Shit, I
do a
might
breaking
pick up
tweet.
some followers from this, bro.
What do you probably would actually. So what's the amount that I can put on there? You had said 10 and then you said 50, or where you
Well,
tell
if
me the number
we
if I
need some
tweet it out.
people like we need some people telling you. I think maybe, in fact, you know what? Let's run a survey. Cardone's committed to match funding. How much would you donate to this? There you go, Dennis. And we could come back tomorrow and figure the number out.
That works
You
for
know,
me as well. Yeah,
leave a
whatever.
little. leave a little anticipation. I know most guys, they want to tell the story in 1 minute. Maybe the story is better overnight. What do you think?
I bet we could announce the number by tomorrow morning.
I'm a big morning guy. I like that.
Oh, we've actually already my emails are opening up. I've already gotten some announcements that people are donating. So my phone sends me alerts when people send in donations. So thank you to the
Yeah,
people that are
baby.
so thank you to the people that are sending in donations. I very much appreciate that. As Gary mentioned, we are 100% supported by our donors. All the money goes to supporting Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and digital asset policy in the U.S. And we are the only organization doing what we do at the state level. And we are the only organization out there with real, I think, continuous, provable, uh, tangible results for the Bitcoin and digital asset ecosystem. We didn't just pass one law. We didn't just have one peer-reviewed paper. We've got 4 bills we passed into law. And here's some breaking news for some folks in the room here too that might not know. The next 2 states that we're targeting are hypercritical key battleground states, Pennsylvania and Ohio. Our bill has been officially introduced in Pennsylvania and in Ohio. And so those are going to be critical states during the presidential election, where at the same time that voters are going to go to the booth to decide who the next president of the US will be, there will also be an option for their lawmakers to decide if they want to become a part of the Bitcoin movement and pass Bitcoin rights bills into law in Pennsylvania and Ohio, which are critical swing states in the 2024 election.
Yeah, would you guys mind if I chimed in for a second?
No way. That
Please.
with that voice, we don't want to hear that voice. All we want to hear is guys talking.
That's fair. All right, I'll take off then. No, I actually am more of a chart kind of girl. So Bitcoin has cycles, as we've all seen over and over again. We've all been in the space for a really long time. And I am 100% politically neutral. I do not care about policies. I don't care about politics in general. I am more of a trend follower on the chart. So if Bitcoin is in a bull trend or a bull market, it doesn't matter who is doing what in politics. It is going to remain in a bull trend no matter what until the trend ends. And that's what makes this thing extremely tradable. And so right now, I think we're kind of in the middle of our Bitcoin bull market cycle. And I think that a lot of people are getting freaked out because we have had a correction. This is our very first correction since it bottomed in January 2023. And so sometimes corrections are yes in the short term bearish, but they can build bullish structures. And so that's what I think is happening right now. Around 50K, very reasonable if people are just getting into the market. Personally, 50K isn't attractive to me personally because I was in the bottom, like I was in the market peak or bottom. If I do happen to get gift prices below, in the 40s and the 30s, that technically that level has not been breached or has not broken. The only time that it has a similar level was during the COVID crash a few months before that. And so if we're getting price action below 50Ks and the 40Ks and the 30Ks, that is basically the equivalent of the COVID crash. And if anybody's wondering about the stats on how basically Bitcoin reacted in previous cycles, I think the 2021 cycle did get pretty hamstrung because of our COVID correction. However, this one is resembling the 2016, 2017 run more
Yeah.
often than
Hey,
the
can
others.
I interrupt and ask a question?
Sure.
So, you said about a minute ago that you liked 50 for a new entry, and then, hey, I'm not adding there. Mine is much lower.
Same.
So I take that to mean that you're not selling Bitcoin here, right?
Oh, no. I
So
think,
so
yeah.
why would you not continue to acquire it? Because I actually think Bitcoin needs to be looked at. I'm holding Bitcoin and I'm adding because it's such like I don't know where else, and maybe that is your full allocation. I don't know where else I would deploy any asset at this stage of the market in particular with your knowledge.
It's hard to hold a downtrend for me because I'm so familiar with how they look like. And for me, it's more advantageous to sell the top of cycles and buy the bottom of the next one than it is to hold. But I
Are you, without doxing you, are you in a tax friendly environment?
I'm pretty good to go. I'm pretty good to go.
Okay, but that's very, very important for the audience to understand. Okay, are you, hey, I don't, like, I have friends that'll come on, hey, dude, I pay 2%. Okay, that's it. But I think people need to understand I pay 38% when I liquidate a position, right? So
Mhm.
I take that into consideration. Any short term, less than a year puts me in a 40+% bracket. And
A
I
hundred.
actually, when I think of going into a trade, like if I think of coming out of Bitcoin or some of the other stupid things some other very stupid things I've done before and move that into a, uh, let's say, Solana or a mining company, for me personally, I have to say, okay, I'm holding this for at least 12 months,
100%. Gary, I
right?
think
12
you were
months in one day. Otherwise, I should just hang with my Bitcoin position because I ain't selling it. I'm not going to have a liquidation event.
exactly. Gary, I think that you do it the smartest way. A lot of people do try to trade markets and try to trade the small moves, not understanding the tax implications. I would need basically a bear market drop in order to make it a profitable trade, which is why I buy every few years and then I sell every few years. I don't know when
So
that.
you just grab a bag and hold. You don't grab a bag and just keep scraping into it, expand it, and then dump the whole position. Is that what you're saying? You kind of like find a spot, wiggle in,
I
and
find a
then
spot, I wiggle in right at the pico bottom, and then I sell when I think that the cycle is over. Or
you're like every other woman I've ever known, sweetie. Damn.
bra,
See, that's
bra.
what I like about Bitcoin. Every other human interaction you can have, Bitcoin is related in some way, at least the analogies.
Yeah,
Anything else you want to say? Welcome to the panel. Happy to have
thank
any other comments you have.
thank you. No, if people are concerned about price action, market structure is the way to go. Like, because that's the thing that's most concerning to people about Bitcoin is that it's so volatile. What's going on? What's this? What's that? And I think that is the thing that keeps people away from it. But if they have an understanding of the chart and they understand that it moves on liquidity cycles and it understands that it's basically moving as a market, it's a lot easier for people to get in, you know? So I think it's really important to actually know what we're looking at on the chart based additionally to what it means to actually hold Bitcoin.
What's your normal time frame? What's your go-to time frame?
Weekly, baby.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's it. And it's like once you start staring at charts for long enough, you know what a topping pattern looks like. You know what a downtrend pattern is, accumulation, and obviously a topping pattern. I think we top sometime in 2025. And so I will be selling quite a lot of my crypto holdings in 2025.
You think we have a boring summer?
Um, right now we've been like everybody is starting to talk about that now, but structure actually broke 3 months ago. So we've been in a corrective phase for 3 months already. So we could be closer to the bottom of this correction than the start of it. Um, According to previous cycles, we could have bottomed already now. In 2016, it crashed about 40% after the halving. An equivalent crash would take us to about 45 here, which I mean saying that's why I'm saying 50% or 50K is a really good percentage at this point for this correction. But yeah, um, I'm holding, I'm enjoying. It's been a fun ride.
Cool.
So technically, we should start moving up and starting the engines for our Bitcoin cycle at least by fall 2024. Q4 2024 should start the uptrend. If not, something is a little bit askew with our cycle. But it's been following 2016, 2017 ever since the bottom. So I'm not going to say it breaks until it breaks.
You don't see any anomalies in the chart since the since the ETF, say January?
No, absolutely everything is
Wow, interesting.
fine. It's absolutely perfectly fine.
See, I predicted that we would have what fine. It's not fine, good or bad, right? In my opinion, it's just, it's just it's an anomaly.
I
I
would
would
say
have thought that
normal.
volume would have changed some part of the structure.
Well, I'm going to say that before that, the structure was already building a base for bullish price action. And so whether the news came out or not, it was going to break out bullish.
Yeah, I don't mean the news. I mean the volume. I mean the news is one thing. Hey, we have real volume, right? I mean, and we have
Yes.
as much bearish news as you could imagine, and real volume also entering the market over the last 6 months. I think the price has done very well. I mean, it
Mhm.
feels like it's maturing.
At the moment, it's basically acting like every other cycle. I will say
Hmm.
that pretty confidently. You know, what if we start keeping in a bull market past 2026, I will say that it has changed. But if we top in 2025, it's just like every other cycle that we've ever seen.
Yeah, and I'll just say one last thing, and somebody else can intervene here. We'll get back to Dennis raising money. How much are you going to give, by the way? While you're thinking about that, now that I hem you in, um, what was I going to say about the difference? Oh, yes. Give me where you think the bottom is in the next 90 days. Because my thesis is that if we're not rocking and rolling by November the 1st, something's wrong.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, I
100%.
agree. Okay, what's my low price then, sister? Up to fall, my low is going to be da-da-da-da.
A 40% correction would take us to about 45K.
See, I've been saying 45K, Gary.
Ain't going to see
It
45K.
doesn't have to happen. I
If you
don't
do, you're gonna ape it.
No, yeah, but I'm asking her what she think. I'm not asking her for you to intervene and tell her what she thinks she needs to say. What do
Bruh.
you think we're going to see? I want to see it down to the penny.
I think the bottom is already in.
That's what I think.
I don't think that we need to see the 40% correction, but we're going, like, if it is the bottom, we do need to see some strength coming in the next few weeks, though. So I'm just keeping a lookout.
Well, if people come up with this weird, now that I'm going to call you the chart. Let's see, what is your name? Widow. Okay, I
Hmm.
like that better. Okay, Black Widow. Uh, the chart. If I take inflation adjusted, which I hear every now and then in these Bitcoin circles, I heard it tonight, which I never see anyone else, going, well, gosh, my Nvidia is up 8,000% compared to your IBM's relative to the inflation value. I've never heard this before until it came to Bitcoin. Nonetheless, Bitcoin's probably the inflated high from 70, what was it, 74? Or no,
Yeah.
69, right? That going back to that high,
Oh,
because
from last cycle? Yeah,
yeah,
no.
that's
Bitcoin,
near 78 or $79.
I think,
So
Well,
we already hit 45K. Is what
yeah,
you're saying.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to get to her point about exactly. Like we might be using the wrong top point for the
you know how the S&P and the Dow and all the equities created a cup and handle pattern and are now in their expansion phases? I think Bitcoin is its in handle phase and that it's going to outperform equities. It should outperform next year, by the way.
Yeah, well, it better, sister. Something went wrong. Okay, I got two daughters that are gonna go broke. Okay, they're gonna die. They're gonna be prostitutes and poverty, man. No education, just sliming all over the place, trying to hook on to a billionaire that did it right. The one or two billionaires that will be made across the planet, only one or two from shorting Bitcoin.
Oh,
They
100.
find them both. That's my theory.
Oh, it's been real. Maybe I'll pop on one of your spaces before. I like your style. I like you're just a vibe. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's cool. Well, listen, promote it around, sell tickets, popcorn, whatever. Good to have you. Love having people that are articulate no matter what they say. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Uh,
Have a
who
good
we
one.
got up here? We got High Roller's probably breaking his arm. XRP op. Uh-oh, somebody's going to come up and smash me on XRP. Derek, you guys come on up, bud.
Yeah, Cardone, Mel Carmine here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Say it again.
Okay, yeah. This party's just getting started, dude. Listen, I'm going to tell you flat out. This is going to be a collectively, the 100 or the 150 tokens left standing when it's all said and done. You're potentially looking at a quadrillion-dollar market. This is the biggest game in town. There's never going to be anything as big as this. This is the
What are
biggest
we talking about,
transfer.
buddy? What's going to be the
We're
quadrillion
talking
dollar market?
all the ones that survive, the ones that have
Oh,
utility,
the total market cap of all the digital world. What
quadrillions,
okay.
quadrillions, quadrillions.
Yeah.
Seriously, we're talking about shrinking the government down by 90% once Trump gets back. We're talking about
Yeah.
having a fair tax system. You do need a tax system, but you don't need the one that taxes you on every little freaking move you make. That's going to go out the window real fast under Trump. When Trump gets back, it's going to get very interesting and entertaining all at the same time. I will tell you that in no uncertain terms. You got India, you got Southeast Asia, you got Africa, 95% unbanked. That's about to get banked. That's about 3 billion people. If they each, God forbid, they each move $1,000 each every month, what is that going to do to the marketplace? How about government to government moving money? How about corporation to corporation? How about the remittance market, which is only a little Mickey Mouse $5-7 trillion a day market, right? People don't understand how huge this is. This is bigger than huge. I'm serious. I mean, 25, 26 is when we're getting warmed up. It's like, you go into the party. The people who really party start the party at 4 o'clock in the morning. All right. And I'm telling you, we're going to go into
Oh, this
2025.
guy's a Diddy player. Mm.
you,
Hey,
you're,
I don't start fucking parties at 4, bro.
well, I'm
That's
just
just
telling you,
dumb. Okay.
this is the after party.
No, that's the super after party. But
Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
this thing is a lot much bigger than people think. We're talking about a space that is going. Look, the reason why yeah, you could say the dollar is a store of value, but the dollar is a disaster. It's on life support. It's the system is broken. You can't continue down this pathway and think that we're going to survive. The system needs a new system, and the new system is coming underneath Trump. Yes, I understand you guys are hot on Bitcoin and Bitcoin is a store of value, etc. But the reality is functionality and usability and solving a problem or solving many problems is what really is going to win the game at the end of the day. NFTs, are going to be into this game. You're talking about smart contracts. You know, uh,
When see, you know what? I don't know. I hope I haven't heard anybody come on here and say that anything's the solution to everything. But
no,
what decade are we dealing with all these smart
this thing is
contracts?
gonna this thing will hit maximum crescendo, the highest climax in 2030. That's
Okay.
when
Yeah.
the billionaires, and that's when you're talking
Yeah.
about maybe, I don't know, maybe a million new multi-billionaires will be hashed out of this. Right now you got
And
7,200
would you
billionaires.
recommend that somebody invest today at, let's say, an XRP price and go, okay, I'm putting it away. I'm gonna put 25, 30, 40, 50% of my net worth into XRP and close
I
my eyes, and 10 years from now it'll be worth something.
I listen. I don't put all my eggs in one basket, even though I'm a hardcore believer in XRP. I got XLM, I got XDC, I got gold, I got silver. Okay, I'm not foolish. At the end of the day, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, because if that basket gets a hole, you wake up, you got no more damn eggs. You know what I mean? I don't like that. So, but the facts are,
Well, I actually do know what you mean, but I don't agree. But
yeah.
because
Well,
we're having a different conversation, whether you're talking about wealth preservation or the ability to leapfrog um, 40 or 50 years of time and
yeah.
inflation time, and no matter what age you are, I think that's a unique opportunity that I don't think. See, for me, 42 cents in XRP today, holding for 10 years, versus putting 42 cents into Bitcoin and waiting 10 years. One thing is I will have zero worry
Hmm.
on that 10 cents. I mean, it's
Right.
just like now the return might be, extremely more improved over that 10-year lifespan, but I am certain that I will not even think another day or moment about that investment. Therefore, I can go now make put my attention, which is my most valuable asset, my
Yeah,
ability to imagine and have attention span, and then communicate it, I can then place that energy into the fiat world, back into the fiat world, mine the fiat, and then go do another 42 cents into Bitcoin without
brother,
any friction, dude. It's so beautiful. It's just like I
brother,
want to have an orgasm. It's so beautiful because you could do it forever. I mean, you just only ever have a byproduct that is positive.
yeah, brother. The price is a distraction. The price is a distraction. Don't get caught up in the price. You're in a kabuki theater. You're in a movie theater. Okay, if and it all depends on what color, what flavor popcorn you're eating. I'm telling you, not everything is what it seems. When this movie ends, a lot of people are going to be shocked, beyond shocked. Okay, let me tell you something. I have a pretty peripheral vision of how this whole thing goes, and I don't want to get conspiratorial on you. I don't want to add the conspiratory factor to your show.
No, give me your best 2 minute pitch. What's going to happen? I want to hear the dark end, dude. Let's just
Well,
go
I
deep here.
think you're
I can
gonna.
see I'm not going to be able to contain this, so let's roll on with it. 2 minutes.
I love it, but you should
Go.
follow me so I can invite you to my show.
Okay,
By the
I'll
way.
follow you, but go with a good story, okay? If I can
Okay.
melt me, but you
Uh,
got 2 minutes,
I
period.
believe you're going to go into a flat tax situation. I believe you're going to talk. We're talking about a flat tax of about minimum, maybe 10 cents, maximum maybe 14, 15, 15% tax. That's the maximum. Uh,
When?
well, as soon as Trump gets back, it will be announced so fast it's going to make your head spin. Okay, this capital gains tax goes away. Property taxes goes away. People say, I own my own house. You don't own jack shit, dude. Don't pay your taxes for a year or two, and then you tell me who owns your house. You don't own nothing. Right now, the system owns you. Period. Okay, so the system is broken, completely busted on many different levels. You need a new system that makes perfect sense. The quantum financial system that's tied into the computers, one in Dubai, one in Reno, and one in Spain, is all connected to what? The nodes. The nodes reside where? In outer space, in Starlink. Brother, I can make you go down the rabbit hole so far. You're going to need a pressurized suits because your body parts are going to malfunction. Believe me.
45 seconds remaining.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, in short, is that you're going to have a flat tax system. You're going to have a debt forgiveness jubilee on levels that you cannot comprehend. You ever hear Donald Trump say we need a level playing field? We need a level monetary playing field. What do you think he's saying by that? When he was in Missouri and he turns around to his wife and he says, "Hey, I think I'm going to get one of these RVs." He's at an RV company, okay, recreational vehicle, right, company. He doesn't want. He says, "I think I'm going to go with you, Melania, and travel the country in this RV thing." A guy that takes a you know what on a 24 karat gold toilet seat is not going to travel the country. He's trying to send you a breadcrumb that there's a reevaluation coming, dude. Okay, that's one. Number two, every time he does a speech, he drops the hint that he's part of that movement. I know you guys think it's hokey pokey, and that's perfectly okay. Eat the meat and throw away the bones. Okay, that 17th movement, the 17th letter in the alphabet. He's part of it. I got a compilation video that's a minute and 42 seconds, and he's constantly saying 17, 17. Why in the world the president of the United States is constantly harping on that number? Breadcrumb. You got to read the breadcrumbs. When he does the
Okay,
inauguration
my
speech,
man, let's tighten it up. You got 10
the
seconds.
inauguration speech, we're going to give the power back to you, the people. I'm telling you, he's bringing in a new system. You
It's
guys
not
better.
going to be Ripple, dude. This is the most QAnon Ripple.
Oh, come on.
Dude, this is the
Come
most
on.
cope I've
Come
He
on.
ever heard
he
in
Come
my
he
on.
he
life,
he
man.
did.
You're going
You
to
know, the
suck
thing
off a
is,
politician. None of this is going to happen, by the way.
he
Go
didn't
look at a
even
chart,
mention.
Ripple versus Bitcoin. You're fucked, dude.
No, look, I don't want to insult people because people are emotionally attached to Bitcoin. And I'm not here to insult people. You like Cadillacs, I like Lincolns. What's the big deal? When the dust settles is when we really can have an intelligent conversation. The dust hasn't
My
settled
man,
yet.
It's more
Thank you, my
like
man.
you like
Appreciate you.
horses and
Hang tight,
and
Dennis.
we like
Dennis.
F1. We like F1. Like it's a completely different game.
Yeah,
So hey, XRP, thank you. I'm gonna pull you down from the speaker. Let other people respond to you if they do bring your name up
I
or
appreciate
say
that.
Ripple or XRP. Of
I would
course, you
wait
can
for
come
you and
back
I to
up
do
and
a podcast. Thank
defend
you.
your position. But I want to just rate your pitch, okay? Because I think you were given a lot of time. In fact, I would say you were given far too much time. And your sales pitch, and I like you, you got a nice voice and everything, but your sales pitch for me was as poor as XRP's chart has been, man. And it's just kind of flatline, right?
Yeah,
You
the
mentioned
price.
XRP once. Your buddy had to mention Ripple. Whoever
Yeah,
came in and said Ripple's a piece of, you actually didn't even mention the name of your product, which I think you're supporting XRP.
Ripple. Well, Ripple
Hang
is
tight.
the company. Yeah, yeah.
Hang tight. Okay, just hang tight. So for me, the anyone in XRP,
Hmm.
and I appreciate it. Okay, you're in a position, it's just flat line, it's not doing anything. If you look at it over 10 years,
Hmm.
it's very hard for me to see that this is a trade you want to get on. I just, especially with all your wealth, I don't. I mean, if you build that case, I think you'd talk me into doing Solana or
The
Dogecoin even
yeah,
more quickly than that.
the
So
price is a distraction, Gary. You know that. You're in a
yeah, yeah.
kabuki theater. It is. It's
Well,
a
no,
distraction.
but for people that are investing, they invest $1,000. They don't want $1,000 to
This
go
is a
down to
game of
420.
patience. Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
game of patience. This is a
yeah.
game of patience and
Okay, we're gonna get to
stamina.
some other hands, bro.
Sure.
Trust me. Okay, you and I will get
Hey,
boring real quick. Who's up next?
Gary, can I quickly chime in on what Dennis was talking about a while ago?
Only if you don't ask for it.
So, Black Widow, and I appreciate what she was talking about, but she's talking in terms of being a trader and when to take advantage of like gains and avoid losses. I've already tried playing that game. I have a day job that I love. I'll keep working, earn money, and invest in something. What I want to invest in is Bitcoin, and I have been doing that. I met Dennis. Well, I didn't actually meet him, but spent a lot of time with him in Clubhouse back in during the pandemic days, and I can vouch for him. He's a great guy. Everything that I've watched his journey online and through socials. If you guys, I personally feel that engaging in politics is important for people in the United States. I don't know where Black Widow is from, but I agree with you, Gary. I mean, we have to take everything into consideration. We get affected by taxes. I would love for our politics to reflect our things that we personally care about. In my case, it's my investment, which is Bitcoin. And I just wanted to say that Dennis also, his organization is called the Satoshi Action Fund. And even though I'm in California, it's probably going to take a little while before he can actually get mobilized in Southern California. I've already signed up for his mailing list, and I'm down to do what I can as like a normal person who owns Bitcoin as an investment for my future, um, to throw to lend a hand in and do what it takes to mobilize and get votes out or whatever. So if you guys already haven't checked out Dennis's site or his organization, Satoshi Action Fund, please do so and feel free to sign up for his mailing list or whatever. That's what I did. So that's it. Thanks
But
for having me.
I
Yeah,
can't. s- I,
or DM Dennis and tell him you're gonna give him $1,000 and he'll take Amex, Visa, Mastercard, Discover. He'll take Bitcoin,
it's
shitcoin,
true.
Bitcoin. He'll take it all, dude. Okay.
I can't see who was talking. I think about the spaces glitched out, but could someone tell me who that was? I would love to just to say thank you to them. But
Yeah,
I can
and Derek Lee.
is which I can't see your
I'm
I
an
cannot.
Asian dude wearing a blue
Let's see.
button-up
Yeah,
shirt.
see, Derek said he was going to donate
Oh, there you are.
3 grand. Let's see.
Thank
What?
you.
No,
Hey,
undisclosed said she wanted
hey,
one. Okay.
no, three.
Irish
Let's
eyes
qualify
is
that.
doing
Th-
two
It's
grand.
very nice of you. Thank you.
Three
I
gra-
just wanted to
Sharon
three
follow
grand of
you.
Sharon's in for a
sweat
G.
equity. 3 grand of sweat equity. I'm willing to work for Dennis if he has something for me to do in Southern California.
I mean, hey, listen, I'm talking to people in California right now. That actually, California is the first place I ever tried to do any sort of Bitcoin policy in. I tried to
Yeah, I
make
remember.
Bitcoin legal tender. It didn't work out so well, but I am still talking to people there. And more recently, we've been rebuilding our conversations. I will say, even though I've given up on legal tender at the state level, I do think we can achieve what was really the ultimate goal, which is to remove all capital gains on Bitcoin. I think that is what we really need to get to. And in our model policy, we have that pathway to accomplish that. We start with a $200 de minimis exemption that's pegged to inflation. And then from there, I think we can grow. We can go all the way to 100% cap gains removed from Bitcoin. That's how we truly unlock this technology. And I mean, that's what we're all about at Satoshi Action is unlocking Bitcoin. As a quick note, Gary, I took some time while I was listening in to the last couple speakers to craft up a tweet. I'm gonna send it to you, and you let me know if you approve of the tweet, or if you see any changes you would like to be made. I think it's a good like
Yeah,
incentive thing that I built
I've
up.
seen your work before. Okay, just go ahead and do it. Just make sure you don't refer to me as Grant. That'll really piss me off. It
That's
would
right.
get us some followers, though.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Now, in which case, someone could retweet. Why is it at Gary Cardone the one that's always doing something like this?
I know
Where's
you're
the
much more
big boy?
active.
No, just kidding. Yeah, dude, smash it out there. Okay, I would love to have to donate more than I said, but I'll do 10 grand at least. Um,
Okay,
awesome work, and I'm sure that you have learned a lot over the 10 years, right, Dennis? I mean, you there were mistakes made. Like to me, the money, the hey, we're going to disrupt the Fed, and not that you said this, but or that we're going to be a cash society with Bitcoin. I just think it's too much, right? It's too big of a disruption. And the truth is, we're not ready for it either. But if you look at this in stages, I'm sure you've just learned. To me, my point is this is a great time to invest with you because you've had 10 years to kind of wiggle around and go, okay, this is what sells. And this is a package, a story that needs to be sold to senators and congressmen because he's only going to have 20 minutes max with them, maybe an hour or two. Okay. But once that door's open, to be able to call, more importantly, to imagine if we had somebody like Dennis on our team that would get the phone call because maybe a wealthy guy like me went to it and maybe I sponsored a table or 10 tables. I get a phone call, he gets a phone call or a ping. Hey, how would we like to see this language shaped? Right? You guys got to remember there's nobody on their teams that know anything. So they're going to listen to someone. And to me, we're just so well situated, Dennis. So appreciate what you're doing, buddy. Really,
thank you.
really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's what we wanted to do, right? Like we really wanted to just put ourselves as the resource in the room, the Bitcoiner in the room when they make these policy decisions, because this is such a new technology. I've been studying Bitcoin since 2017 nonstop, and I still have things to learn. But a lot of these policy people and lawmakers, they're just looking at Bitcoin for the very first time, so they don't really have a true understanding, first of all, of the technology, and second of all, like what are the real ways that we need to craft policy to be successful as a country. So what we're finding is that oftentimes we get called. That people ask us like, how should we craft these things? How should we be thinking about them? I mean, there's bigger news to share that we haven't even gotten into yet. I can't quite share it yet, but we're even being asked about things at the federal level, like how to help, how to craft, how to participate. It's very hush hush behind the scenes, but the stuff that you can see very visible, the stuff that we proudly display on our website and tweet about is are huge wins for Bitcoin. I mean, the ability to know that no matter what, there are 4 states that have passed the right to mine into law, and 2 states that have passed self custody protections into law is huge. Because no matter what, just like the cannabis industry, right? They started with 2 states, Colorado and Washington, and then they expanded to 75% of the country, and now they're about to impact federal policy. And that's the same exact ability that we have in the Bitcoin space. There's this very unique feature that the states have, and I'm proud to be leading the charge there. And Gary, we're so thankful for your support and the kind words that you've said. So I posted the tweet up there. Hopefully, everybody, it's on the very, very top. You can go check it out. If the tweet gets 5,000 likes, then it will unlock the full amount. So hopefully you're okay with that, Gary. But I also told people to give you a follow. They should. The funny part is you're so well known, but you're still out here grinding out these spaces and like actually doing the hard work of putting the content together and spending time with people and coordinating and letting people speak. That's a lot of work, and the proof of work shows in sort of your your not only your network and your connections in the space, but just your knowledge of Bitcoin and your understanding of it. And we're very fortunate to have you as a spokesperson here as well.
Well, thank you for those kind words, buddy. Really appreciate it. What I would also like to spend a little time with you guys, maybe even like a quarter of a morning, to understand what the landscape looks like and what you're trying to accomplish at the end of the day. But because I think there is a timetable to it, and we can digest a lot. But
You going to be in
but
Nashville?
oh yes, I
Okay.
mean I'm going to be in Nashville from the 24th to 28th, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there on the 18th. So
Oh my God.
I'm getting in. I'm getting in very early. So I
Yeah,
mean
no, you got you'll
I
be
think I
more
have your
busy than I
cell.
am. Oh yeah, I'll get it to you.
Let me
Well,
see. I think.
you're gonna need to, because I owe you 10 grand at least,
Oh,
man.
see, it worked. I just texted you. It
You,
binged.
you know what I'm gonna do? Actually, this will be well, no, this would bring up a lot of controversy. I was gonna go, hey, I'll just bring you to Nashville. Would this be hilarious? How you getting to Nashville? Where are you going from?
I'm flying in from Portland, Oregon.
Oh yeah, okay. But it'd be funny if I did this in cash, right? Give you a duffel bag.
I mean, theoretically, you could. There's nothing wrong with it. I
Oh
just got to
no,
go to
there's absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to do a USA, and I'm looking for two beautiful assistants to bring a bag of however much we raise in U.S. dollars and give it to Dennis, and tell him he can do the heavy mining, turn it into Bitcoin if he wants. I don't really care what he does with it. He probably needs it for fuel, but he should take a little bit of that action and put it into Bitcoin. If I was a real man,
Gary,
if I was a
we
real giving
save.
person, I'd give you
Go
my
ahead.
Bitcoin, but I value it. It's more important to me in
Right.
my hands. I give you the damn fiat, dude.
That's right.
In
That's how
fact,
we are.
how would
Well,
you like some silver?
I know, right? Yeah, get rid of the silver while you can. We actually save all of our Bitcoin. So we get little Bitcoin donations like all the time over the last 2 years, and we've saved it all up. Honestly, it's like 4 to 5x in value, and it's actually one of the main reasons why we've been able to expand our operations and hire a new director of development, because we just saved all of our Bitcoin, and so we have this big like Bitcoin reserve now. And also we're gonna do the sailor method. We're not even gonna spend it. We're just gonna borrow against it. So we'll never spend our Bitcoin.
Love that. Love it. Love it. You guys follow Dennis, support him. $50, $5, $20. He doesn't care. Venmo, Winmo, Remo, whoever does it best. I'm sure it'll take Ethereum and Doge and whatever, right, Dennis?
Well, I can
Go
turn
to
it right in as long as I can convert it right to fiat.
yeah. What's the website?
SatoshiAction.io, but also there's a link right at the very top that people can go to. It's donorbox.org, and I put /Gary Match. So it's the tweet at the very, very top. Also, if you guys could retweet or like that tweet, that's sort of a way for us to say thank you to Gary and get him some followers there as well. And
Yeah, you should use my whole
appreciation.
name though, dude. Gary's a very ambiguous. It's one of the things I dislike about my mom. I wish she would have called me something else. I do not like the name Gary, but you most
Yes.
certainly most certainly throw in Cardone, because it's gonna it'll grab a little bit more gravity. But cool, dude. Sounds good. I enjoy having you on the team. I feel like my Bitcoin's safer when Dennis is around.
They call me the Bitcoin Batman. That's my nickname. So um, I'm
Go
showing up to
ahead.
take out the FUD and the anti-Bitcoin narratives.
Go get it, dog. Go get it. Shine the light, and we will see the truth. Hey, Michael, what's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I actually wanted to ask Dennis what he was hearing about the potential vote in the House to turn over the veto on Wednesday. Talking about the SAB bill.
The most recent news is honestly, to be real is Eleanor is actually a really great journalist. I think I saw her tweet posted up in the nest
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah, I put it up there
She gets a
before.
lot of
Yep.
she gets a lot of really nitty gritty insights on that. I think really the problem is, I don't think people want the Democrats. What I've heard outside of her posts, what I've been hearing outside of that, is that they just don't want to pass it as a one off, because they don't want it to become a precedent. Like, it's not necessarily that they don't support it, it's that they don't want that to be the way that business is handled. So
They want
it's
to
not
bury it in another bill. They do
exactly,
that
Yeah,
Gary.
shit
yeah.
all
Yeah,
the time.
exactly.
See,
Yep.
See, that's why we have to have. That's why you need to support Dennis even more, guys, because he almost needs two teams: the top to keep the Congress or senator on post, get them bought in. They then tell their lieutenants, "Hey, I like this. Let's support this. Write it up. Blah blah blah. What's my talking points?" Then somebody's got to go work with a 22-year-old. So if we're going to do this really well and not let our message get intoxicated or distorted, massively mutated and changed to some 23-year-old to write the bill, that we got to follow through. Okay. So this is just about everything is centered around a free market, right, Dennis? That's the core belief. Free market, let a free market work, and that means new entrants, digital, no matter what they're called, according to the same rules and conditions of everyone else.
Yeah,
Is
we
that
also
right?
call it being tech neutral. So not only do we want to see Bitcoin succeed in the free market, we also want to see the policy be tech neutral, because there's a number of different reasons, but the biggest one is that I don't have to go in and to have a debate over like why Bitcoin, right? But ultimately, these policies, the vast majority of these policies, that's what the purpose is to ensure that Bitcoin is defended and protected, and that we have the ability to use it for generations to come. So that's a common tech neutral. If you go back way back to when they did tech policy, it's a very common term. It's very common within the legislative zeitgeist, and it's something that we tapped into very early and used pretty well to our success.
Well, very good to have you. Anybody else questions for Dennis? Hey, so
I just want to say, this isn't about Dennis. This was what Black Widow said, and your comment for inflation adjusted pricing of Bitcoin. If you take the 21.4% cumulative inflation rate that happened in the last 4 years and apply it to Bitcoin's current price, we're right around 44, 45K. So what you were saying about it potentially, this could be the bottom if you adjust for inflation, which is, real value, right? We smashed that bottom. We hit it, and that's why I would say we're seeing such violent up and down swings at this point, because it is an important resistance point. And yeah, Dennis, what you're doing is insane. It's so noble, and I'm definitely going to be donating here once we're done with this space, and spreading that out. I think $500 per senator is a pretty amazing deal, especially the way you guys handle it with all your experience. And but yeah, Gary, you were
I mean,
correct.
just imagine this, right? It's gonna $500 is gonna get him from the airport to the Washington, whatever the little streets, State Street, and get him back. He probably for 500, he probably that'll be tip included round trip for him, just for
Yeah,
everybody to
that's a
be,
round trip.
like
That
like
what's
guess what? Everybody fucking has to understand inflation costs when you're fighting the war too, right? So it's going to be expensive. $500, dude, just to get an Uber to go see a meeting. People do not understand this.
Yeah, I mean, $500 is absolutely enough to cover a plane ticket for myself to be able to go fly into a state, and then when I'm there, I'm nonstop for the next 3 or 4 days, like educating lawmakers on Bitcoin. The number of lawmakers I can educate, ranges anywhere from just a few to sometimes dozens. Oftentimes we go in, we do these lunch and learns, and we like get into the nitty gritty with lawmakers on why Bitcoin matters. And we have a great pitch. We have a whole bunch of resources, one pagers, printed materials we take in, and we are able to hand deliver that to those lawmakers. And oftentimes we also partner with really good local organizations. One in particular is the Idaho Freedom Foundation. They helped us to be able to get our bill introduced, and we almost got it passed, but we got sort of narrowly stopped. But we plan to come back next year with them. But they were just so helpful, and they were boots on the ground, and they're Idahoans, and they cared about the issue. And they're not a Bitcoin group; they're a center right think tank, and yet they picked up our policy and they said we want to have this be a part of our agenda. And so we partnered directly with them. We've partnered with the Beacon Center in Tennessee. It's another great center right think tank. And we plan to expand that sort of operation because at the end of the day, we don't want to just be the only one trying to pass these laws. We want everybody, every group, left, right, center, working to pass these laws because that's how important Bitcoin is to us, and I think it's how important it is for our future.
What's going on, High Roller? You got your hand up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm listening to all this, and a couple of things just, always keep coming back to mind. I'm 27, right? And so, like, the people around me, one of the constant things we always look at and that rings all the time is inflation, right? And like the cost of shit. We go out, we buy shit all the time, and then 6 months later we see that it's like 40% up. So like inflation's a huge problem for this generation. But Bitcoin, it's also just like when people look at the price, I get scared because like people pull their hair out thinking like price matters, but like Bitcoin's a liquid, and so like when people sell, it drops the price, and so like that's all we're looking at. If price doesn't go up all at once or it goes down suddenly, it's because Bitcoin's a liquid, and some people are selling, and it's all just short term. But that's the kind of narrative I want to see. Even so, like Dennis, and how these the political parties are portraying Bitcoin, and even how like XRP, that guy was talking about it. What I want to kind of see is everyone approaching this from the point of like prices are going up, inflation's up, people are struggling, and one of the things that we see with all the shit coins and all these is like they're all trying to leverage this crypto market, but only one of them is actually the one I would look at as the dominant hedge against inflation, or at least the one I would look at as solving that purpose. And scarcity plays a big role in this, but the technology, fundamentally its only purpose is solving inflation, or at least solving that main problem. So like I like to think about like why do people choose Bitcoin, and that scarcity, it's kind of crazy, so like if I look at like political parties and Trump and all these predictions that people have about like what's going to happen, I mean some of it's probably true, right? Like if we look at like how much interest we're paying on the $30 trillion of debt we have, and then we compare it to like military spending, or we compare it to like how much we pay in taxes, and we like, wait a minute, the interest that we're paying on the debts it is increasing every day, and on top of that we're like the taxes do nothing and we're spending it all back on the military. Like yeah, things aren't going to stay the same, right? And then you see there's only 450 Bitcoin quote unquote mined a day, right? And like only that much needs to be taken out of supply forever for the price to effectively go up. So who's selling, right? And that's what I look at. I look at that, and I look at inflation is just too big of a factor for my generation to ignore. We can't look at these prices going up and be like, wait a minute, what the hell is the problem, and then just not do anything, right? We question these things.
Yeah, and for the inflation thing, I mean, like it's programmed in. There's no the U.S. government. I mean, we're told it's healthy, right? We're told it's as the population grows, we need more money circulating around. But 21.4% in the last 4 years is that's where do we go from there? Hopefully, we get it under control, but even what are rates sitting at? Rates are at almost 8% or so. So there. What's the answer? Where how are we gonna stop this inflation from just decimating value? I mean, I feel horrible for the old folks who saved their whole lives and accumulated hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then in the last decade or so have watched all of that money go down by 50% in value nearly. Like there they everybody got robbed. You were told to save and accumulate fiat your whole life, and then in the last you know couple of decades or so, I guess you could say ever since we removed ourselves from the gold standard and inflation really started to kick on, I mean, we everybody got robbed, and so we're, arguably the only answer I see is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, something with controlled supply, and enough people agree that it's valuable to now. As sovereign nations holding and affecting the problem, affecting the price and all that. Um, to where it's a good midline, and for sure it's better than fiat, right? Because the private reserve and the government just robbed everybody. They just took half of everybody's money essentially. They printed money. They printed, you know, almost twice as amount of the money that's in existence in the last, less than a decade. So, where do we get it under
They're gonna
control?
do it again too, son. They're gonna make that last hit look like a little tiny mountain, just a little hill. This is gonna be a beast.
Well, just print it and then eight Bitcoin, right? I mean, if this is their dying breath, right? If this is their
Hey,
one last hurrah, just eight Bitcoin, right? Just and then
hey, listen. If they're gonna extend the life of this thing, okay, we might as well have a great party. I mean, let's do it, okay. We need to get the guy in. We need to get the capitalists in. If the party's ending anyway, you might as well go out in a big old parade. This is not the way to end. See, this is what death is like, right? Like you don't want to die at the very end where you're just like, get me the fuck out of here. It's so painful. To me, you go out in a glory, just a flash. So, um, and I respect that out of any, if any of these administrations could do that, but we only have one guy. In fact, it's not even an administration. It's one guy that has the balls to really tackle it the way it needs to be tackled. And I think he's going to get Bitcoin. And all the congressmen and the senators and everybody else is going to come along because they've already been allocated Bitcoin, Dennis. Okay, and these ETFs, guarantee by the end of the year, dude, they're all going to be long and in profit on Bitcoin in their mutual fund or their, whatever their fund. Already you got the Wisconsin t-shirts in it. So
I think what's important to remember here is that nations are actually already accepting this, right? We saw Nayib Bukele speak at, I think it was CPAC, or we see a lot of world leaders now coming up and talking even directly about Bitcoin, and like the countries that adopt Bitcoin, they like fundamentally adopt Bitcoin. They see that kind of success. One, because the people, like their interests are aligned with the people. Like when you're on a Bitcoin standard, what happens is your people start to not just save in Bitcoin, but they start to use Bitcoin more naturally. Commerce tends to use Bitcoin. The people tend to use Bitcoin, and when the government naturally aligns with it and the country naturally aligns with it, they all prosper. So like El Salvador is seeing like moderate amounts of success actually because of how well they've integrated Bitcoin into their like economy. And that kind of like knowledge is seeping its way into other countries, and as their governments and as their economies start to leverage Bitcoin, particularly their like treasuries, like I know El Salvador is issuing bonds now, and they're buying a Bitcoin a day. They've committed to that, and the idea really is how much Bitcoin can a country have so that they're relevant on a world stage. You already see some setting a goal. I know El Salvador is like at 5,500. Like think about that. Like they're one of the most prosperous ones now, but when they reach 10,000 or 100,000, they're going like there aren't that many countries that can acquire that much Bitcoin. And fundamentally, it's a price game, right? And the sooner you get into it, the better, the more understanding you have, and the more you can get.
Well, it's all about, what people will take for their Bitcoin. I think, the only danger that we have is a country who has, no hope if we're going into the dying throes, right?
Say it.
Let's say Venezuela, they'll just go, You know, what is currency worth, right? Currency's worth what they decide it, so they could just max ape into Bitcoin, right? Buy all the Bitcoin
That's
that's
the
for sale
thing.
on
Who's
exchanges
going to
for
be the first country to do it? And not just the big event, not just the big flip, but like who's going to adopt it?
right. Yeah, who's gonna right? Which country is just gonna say, okay, no more of our dollars, we'll just max print until we can't buy anymore, right? Like until all the exchanges are bought out and they start putting regulations out and stuff.
Yeah,
It's a
but what
valid.
what I mean, I think also just to show you how why this really, if you were really doing the lobby right, not that you're not doing it right, but if you were gonna make the biggest lobby impact possible, we have to do this also at the corporate needs to be lobbied. You got state treasurers. I mean, there's just so much to educate on. I think focusing, really just focusing right now um, on filling the whole, like we have the ability to write the digital bill of rights like it's that important to me. Because clearly everything that all the constructs that we have from the pre 21st century, in fact, I'd say any rule or contract or an agreement made even 5 years ago, even at the most sovereign level, I'm not sure any of them stand up to, they're not going to live into the future. It doesn't care how much, oh, I have 30-year contract, you can't do this, you can only do business with Billy, Bob, and Sally. Well, this market doesn't matter now. I mean, it just, so I think this is the ability for us to think big, really big, and not adversarially, but actually combine our money and our intellect and time and hours on writing briefs and helping connect. Guarantee you there's some people that know senators and congressmen here. That would help Dennis so much. Okay, just get through. Hey, soft, nice, warm introduction. Okay, I mean, even to the assistant, that's cool. Anything you can do and give. Don't tell me you can't give anything. Okay, you can. Um, so he needs a lot of support. He ain't doing not on that budget, dude. You're gonna need a lot of people pulling in favors. I think you need a couple $1 million. So let's raise some money. I really had fun doing this with you, Dennis. Anything else you want to say, bro? I'm gonna probably close up here, and you may not
Yeah.
even.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
well, yeah, quickly, a couple things. You need to be on our branding team because the digital bill of rights. That's what we talk about behind, like inner organization meetings. But that's sort of the way we view the Bitcoin rights bill, right? It's like a digital bill of rights, but we want to go even much further with it, right? But we are already protecting self
See,
custody. So
I would actually like to put a lot of time and energy on that. I would love my name to be on that. Look, none of the rules of the old world in payments. That's where I came from. That's where I figured out. Oh my God, their plumbing is so bad. Even if they wanted to help you, they can't. Like the
true.
plumbing is so bad, it will take them 10 years to unwind all their affiliate agreements, contracts. They're actually, this is why I like some of the other coins and offerings, because I think it's going to be a distraction to many of the legacy players, and they're going to lose another 3 years. And dude, 3 years in this market will be a death. Like this is why to me, this is also important that we have Dennis and other people like him with the Trump administration in this 4-year window. This 4-year window really is important to me. Don't
I
you
guess
agree, Dennis? I mean, like, it's just
well, yeah. I
really
mean,
timely,
absolutely.
right? It's like
You
they're
got to take
sucking
advantage of the
one.
momentum. You
Yeah,
got to take advantage
exactly.
of the momentum. You got to keep pushing. Oftentimes, this is the problem: is people build the momentum and they feel happy that like things are feeling good, and they don't actually pass any bills or any laws or do anything, and they just like, happy that everyone feels good about themselves. And so, this is the time when you want to push the hardest. And additionally, you brought up pensions and state treasurers. Like we actually engage state treasurers and pensions directly, and so we're working with some of the largest ETF issuers in the world, trying to help them get in touch with these state pension fund managers and treasurers, which we have done successfully, and to be able to help them understand the value of Bitcoin so that these pensions can have a little bit of the Bitcoin pie as they move forward. And so that's a big goal of ours. That's one we're working hard on, and it's one that the money goes towards. That when you give us money, it's almost like you're DCAing into like other people learning more about Bitcoin that matter a lot. Like we're not just, although I care a lot about education for the broader masses, like this is education for people that have the ability to unlock huge policy wins or huge amounts of capital for the Bitcoin ecosystem, which means ultimately that the value of Bitcoin goes up the more work that we can get done. So we're really proud to be in that position. I mean, this is honestly, I just came in here to this room, just kind of like figured I'd come hang out a little bit. I had some free time for once in a while, and wanted to hang out with Gary for a little bit. It's been a long time since we had some time together, and was not expecting him to announce the match donation up top or for all the kind words that you shared. So I do really appreciate that, Gary. That your words of support go a very long way, and they are deeply appreciated. And I look forward to connecting with you in Nashville, and hopefully we can do more work together, not just on the financial side. We can do more work together to make this country a true leader on this technology.
Buddy, I love that. Love having you. Guys, I'm going to close out. It's been a long day for me. I'm going to say goodnight on that note. Dennis, I love the idea of bringing cash. I'll be doing that. In fact, I might even bring some silver and stick it up your ass. Say, hey, now go move this, okay? How you like this 10 grand? What a gift I've just given you. But we'll make a big deal out of how valuable Bitcoin is. So I'm sure there's going to be some people that want to give him Bitcoin. All he'll open a wallet at some point. If you DM, they'll figure it out in the
Oh
background.
yeah, we
But
have it.
yeah, oh, cool. So this is going to be a cool story, Dennis. You're going to be able to then joke in a week and go, "Wow, it was awesome doing business with Gary." You know, he settled in 2 weeks with his silver MF. A bunch of people came in with some cash and some ACH and wires, and most of them kind of settled and had to chase up a bunch of people. And then there were a few Bitcoiners that just pinged me that night. We've been enjoying that fuel. Thank you very much. It would be a great advertisement for Bitcoin, dude.
It's already a great advertisement. I'm telling you, the whole time I'm sitting here, I just keep seeing donations come through. So I just saw another one come from Troy. So I appreciate Troy. Troy, I don't see where you are down below, but probably listening in. And thank you for sending in the donation. A bunch of other people's have as well. Every time someone sends something in, I get a little email ping. So I will
Shit, dude.
definitely
Maybe,
be.
maybe we should just switch here. If I go get a cup of coffee and we do the Jerry Lewis thing.
That's right. Just keep going. We'll do it all night. That's right.
Yeah, I hate giving up when you got momentum. If somebody else wants to take over and chat for a while, I'm just gonna go. I just need a bounce for a bit. But Dennis, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, buddy. And
It's
may
it's been an honor,
Bitcoin.
and yeah, let's do it again. We can do it. We can do it live. We can do it live in Nashville.
Oh, love that. That's a good idea. That'd be fun. Be a lot of fun. I think when people see faces and they see people interacting also together, it just solidifies their understanding, right? I think that's why they like the live stuff. All right, bro. Well, hey, thank you so much, guys. You guys support Dennis. Thank you for the evening. I kind of just enjoyed shooting the shit and not having a conversation that was like so heavy on so many different things. So appreciate it. And anything else anybody has to say other than Gary's great? This was a great show. Then peace out, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
Gary.
all.
See you, Sharon.
See you, Gary.
Thank you, Dennis, for all you do. Good night.